on?
Whoa, what's up, Plat Chat Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Plat Chat Valorant. We're platting and chatting. It's episode 135, and it's playoffs. I'm Mimi. We have Wyatt and Brennan Hook and special guest Slee again for the 50th time because he is John EMEA. Wyatt had a really stellar question for you to start. When do you sleep? How do you have time for all this?
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, I'm a little bit lucky because UK timing kind of works out well, but a lot of it is literally if there's no games on, I'll just go to sleep, and it's just napping in the day, and sometimes sleeping at night, and then waking up like 5 hours to an alarm and just strolling over to the PC and just turning on the lights. So yeah, it's it's going alright. Honestly, I'm still like the games are fun as long as the games mean something. It's pretty good, so it's been alright.
Yeah,
that's true.
Fun. I love watching Zeta Division. It's really fun as a Zeta fan. Having a good time watching the most appalling Haven rounds and crying in my chair at home alone.
That's what I do every Friday night. Watch Haven once. Wyatt's back for the first time in a while. Hi.
Yeah, it's pretty nice to be sentient again. It was about a month of recovering, and the first couple weeks just being on another planet. But yeah, as of this last week, I'm feeling way better, can actually do things again, actually have energy. I'm not dead if I go to HEB for 30 minutes. The rest of my day isn't over. It's an ultra-based grocery store in the most free state, Texas. It is the greatest grocery store on the planet.
What makes it so based?
It's just a really good grocery store.
Selection, prices.
Yep.
And I mean, that's kind of the only things you need at a grocery store.
That's all you need.
Yep. It's very
but
good.
like, how is it better than a different grocery store? Is it just like bigger? Is it like a Buc-ee's kind of thing?
Yes, it is Texas, so it's massive. But again, I mean, there's no other way to explain it. Maybe better prices, better selection.
You just have to experience it, to be honest. It actually reminds. So I thought supermarkets were super lacking when I was living in LA. Mm-hmm. They were all like really small, shit selection, overpriced. And then when I moved to Texas and went to HEB, I was like, wow, this is like a UK supermarket. Because the UK supermarkets are it's like the UK is so small. There's like hyper competition between all the big supermarkets, and so they're all driving the prices down. Are all like competing, and they have a really good selection. So I don't know. It just feels HEB is like a UK supermarket. It's really good, really good. Right? Yeah, we're not sponsored by them, by the way.
No,
we're just shouting them out for no reason.
I calculated it when we moved from LA to Texas. The difference in prices on eggs. I'm saving $600 on just eggs in a year.
That cannot be true.
Yes, I swear to God. Okay, first of all, I eat a fucking lot of eggs.
How many eggs do you eat a week to save $600?
There's a number of eggs.
I eat about 6 eggs a day.
You sustain eggs.
Yes, yeah. Because I make breakfast tacos and I have 4 eggs with those, and then usually for dinner I make fried rice and I have 2 more eggs. So I go through a lot of fucking, but still, $600 on eggs, that's a lot of money. You know how many skins I can buy with that? That's a lot of fucking skins, all right? Big savings. That's why HEB is hella based.
Not sponsored by HEB.
Not sponsored.
No more plugs for grocery stores. Also, Bren, how does your setup continue to get worse every episode?
It needs to be portable. It needs to be like remote. I gotta be agile.
But why 2 headsets?
Well, this one has a 1/4-inch jack, and my mixer doesn't have a 1/4-inch input.
What if you got a converter?
I could do that. I did do that in the past, but I decided it's not really worth it because this headset is mono audio, so it's not good for gaming. So now all I do is like if I'm like gaming and not doing a podcast, I just like hang the headset up on a lamp like over here and just use it as a mic like over there. And then but for now I just wear it as like a shoulder harness and use it as a mic like this. And then I use my like travel headphones.
You have an excuse. I don't. I just haven't bought a mixer for the mic that I'm borrowing from Plat Chat, or have gotten my own mic. So I'm back to Blue Yeti prison, and and also I don't know where I put the like mic stand attachment for it. So I have it in a fucking candle. So I have no excuse. This is just Scuff City.
Wait, how is it plugged in?
Dude, this cord, I don't know how it's surviving, honestly, because the cord is like tucked, I mean, it's like tucked into the side, but somehow it like goes back up into the, I don't know, it's fucked.
Dude, I gotta expose this guy. When we were casting Game Changers for NA, he did not have a microphone because Kurt took the mixer to LA and he didn't realize until we were casting. So he put this microphone in front of him.
And I put the fucking Blue Yeti out of view so it looked like I wasn't an absolute dumbass on the Game Changers cast.
That's
The producer was just like, wait, your mic sounds a little bit tinny. Is there something wrong with those settings? And he just like pulls up the Blue Yeti, just like, it's all a lie.
Yeah, Jesus.
That's really funny.
Actual unprofessional.
Wow.
Hopefully
Yeah.
I don't get fired.
Well, talk of professionalism. The rest of this podcast is going to be very professional. It's playoffs time, baby, for all of the regions now. We're going to do our pick'ems for most of the regions, for Americas, for EMEA. We got Sliggy here for this. We're going to be recapping some teams, giving some season perspectives. But we're not going to do super much on Pacific right now because they are in the middle of their playoffs. We're going to wait until the playoffs are over, and then we're going to do one big proper Pacific episode. Just remember, this is the podcast where we hate your region that you're a fan of.
Exactly.
In
Write a
particular.
comment about what your favorite region to hate on is as well. Leave a comment for the region you hate the most. Actually, don't do that. That sounds
don't do
really
that.
bad. Don't
Let's
do
not
that
do
at all.
that. The region that I hate the most is Americas.
Yeah.
That's not true. But let's talk about
Safe
Americas.
answer. That's the safest answer you can give. Well done.
A team that I don't hate
Got
is
out of that
Tens.
PR fucking nightmare.
Guys, I love Americas. And I also love Tens. But Sentinels, despite beating FURIA in a GIGABANGER, they trolled themselves, lost exactly one map, and did not make playoffs, which was so sad because they finally actually won a series against kind of a respectable team in FURIA.
I still
Yeah,
stand by the
that's
fact that
fair,
Fury is the most fraudulent team
No,
In
there's
NA.
no way. Lever the most
in
fraudulent.
the Americas. Lever quite fraudulent, but
Lever
the
the
fact that
most
so many people are
fraudulent.
so high up on Furia and they've just like scraped by so many maps and so many series wins. There's like logic to it. You could say that like they're a clutch team, they can pull it over the line, whereas other teams can't. But I think they've always like looked stronger on specific maps by playing quirky compositions and forcing people to adapt to them. Like I think back to like when they played close maps against good Pearl teams by that one time when they like threw out the fucking neon comp and it was dog shit on defense side.
Whoa, monetization, Brennan.
Oh wait, are we
Good
past the 5
fun.
minute
Wyatt's
mark?
already dropped the F-bomb like 5 times, so we're
I only
Yeah,
said
I was
it
gonna say,
once.
that's
thought,
so sad.
I
Only
thought the
once.
intro was pretty long. I thought we were in the safe zone. Isn't it a minute?
I don't know.
It's like
we'll find
5.
out. It's all good.
We'll find out.
find out.
To
Anyway,
change
Okay.
the rules.
my
we're-
bad if
Science
we messed that up.
experiment.
I keep forgetting.
I tried
it's
to
been-
wait like 5 minutes. I can't help myself.
But
It's
we're
been
still
so
early in the
long.
podcast, so we need our SEO. We need the good words early, which means let's wait to talk about Furia till we do our pick'ems, and let's start by talking about Sentinels, Sentinels,
Oh,
Sentinels,
okay.
Sentinels. Their season is over, but is there actual legitimate hopium for them in LCQ, Sliggy?
I mean, I think there's a little bit. I'm not the I'm not sold, but I think for people out there, there is a little bit. They look better. They looked a lot better. I think I like this. I didn't really seem to see any dip in like the calling or anything like that. So it doesn't look like that's changed too much. They seem to have more fragging power now, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, you can just tell it's a team that hasn't been together for long. It's a little bit
Yeah.
scrappy, but yeah, I mean, yeah, with some time. I mean, I hope they work pretty hard. But yeah, I don't think they're going to win last chance qualifier, but I think they can do some upsets.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like in this game, they played about as well as you could hope for a team that had no time with this 5. They had surprisingly good fundamentals. Their trading was pretty nice, which, you know, the double duelist comp oftentimes will lend itself to that being the case in the way that you're hitting sites with it. But I was surprised at how good that aspect of their game was. Other than that, though, they were just playing the bog standard setups for the meta right now in a very default way, but with explosive firepower that took them over the line. I know we're not trying to talk about Furia that much right now, but I was disappointed that I'm seeing the same mistakes from Furia that Sentinels are making, who have been together for 2 weeks, and Furia had been together for ages. But I think that the firepower took them over the line. They played a standard, solid game, and that's about as much as you could expect if they put effort into developing some different plays, especially for like the ways that they're taking map control is just really standard. Like
Yeah.
when you
They
watch
were
a team
very
like
limited.
NRG, yeah, that have like 70 different ways to take an area of a map, and then you're watching Sen, it's just they haven't been together long enough. I think that's
Yeah.
what they need to work on the most. If they can do that and develop a lot of variation, they could have a good performance in LCQ, but it is hard to believe they could be the team that qualifies.
I think my
Yeah.
biggest reflection from this season as a whole from Sentinels is just Zekin proving just how incredible and valuable he can be to any team. They played with like three different rosters, I think, across the course of this season. It felt like he was playing every single role across that time. He'd have to flex to smokes, flex to initiator, he'd be playing the duelist, and he just consistently performs so incredibly well individually on any of those roles and looks very competent with the utility of all of them as well. And when you watch your games too, if you just are watching his player cam, you can see his little mouth talking constantly. That's such a weird way to phrase that, but he's a very vocal player who can help the team be very proactive.
Yeah, I was listening in on the comms at some point as well, before they made the Marv change. So this was like when they had I guess the first iteration of the roster. I'm not too sure. No, it was after when Tens was out and Marv was in. I was listening in just to get a feel for all of it, and not too much has changed. I don't think in terms of the way that they're playing it. I mean, the one thing I noticed was like Def was bringing a lot of really big ideas at the beginning. Of like rounds of like just what they wanted to do in terms of their core setups, like I don't know, like 4-1 defaults on Fracture, or like 2-2-1, where he's like, oh, we're gonna take this control at the same time, blah blah blah. But a lot of the mid rounding was just taken by the teams. There wasn't really too much input by Marv, so I was really surprised when they said that Marv was going to be IGLing, because when I was listening, he wasn't saying much. He's like a super independent player. We know that about him. He's like a very independent, lurky player where he just likes to take his own timings based on, you know, the comms he's hearing and, you know, his own read on the game and the situation. But you know how like this is a weird tangent. You know, like companies obfuscate their taxes by like hiding it through like shell companies and offshore accounts and things like that.
Okay.
I want to see Sentinels do that with this team, so that they can hide and create an undetectable paper trail with the Sentinels Valorant team, so that Rob Moore can stop making decisions about it. And we just hide it in so many layers of other teams and shell companies and umbrella corporations, to the point where he's just, I don't know, he just doesn't even know that they're running a Valorant team. Like, can we just pretend like it's a Rocket League team? And just like, and then just give like different little pieces.
What are you saying?
Taking us?
Because I feel like most of Sentinel's problems is the fact that they haven't been given enough time to actually solidify themselves as a roster. Like any sort of when you not to rehash the exact
so
same.
Your reaction to that isn't just like, hey, Sentinels, let's just give this roster time. Yours is like, we have to move the team to Panama.
Yeah,
put
because
it in
I think there's too much meddling at the top. There's too much meddling at the top. Move it to Panama. Move it to Panama. Use the fucking canal. Use the trade routes. Whatever you want to do, but hide it from Rob Moore so we can stop making changes and actually let the team settle a little bit. I think they've learned that lesson now, but you're just not going to get consistent results when you're constantly chopping and changing like they have been. So
I have good news for you then, Bren. They have finally found the 5 players that they could have to combine for the biggest follower count, so they won't be changing from here. These are actually the 5 so you're fine. They don't even need to do that. They're gonna keep these 5.
What
but
about
it is hard to no, please. But it is hard to believe that if they had just kept the same 5 from the beginning of the season, that they would have done any worse than they've done here. It probably would have been the exact same, if not slightly better. So
that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, like, would it have been much worse? Like, I was watching at the beginning, even like Lock-in, and then like 3 weeks when they had the first kind of, they still had the same core, and I'm watching them and they don't know how to like default against a Killjoy on Haven. And I'm like, man, this is this is some crazy bad stuff. Like I saw it in Lock-in against Fnatic. They literally got beaten by a Killjoy turret and an alarm bot, and then like literally just a month or so later, it's the same stuff. So I feel like they had issues before anyway. I don't think they looked very good. At least with this, there's like good fragging power. Maybe they can lean towards double duelist a little bit. Yeah, I have more faith in this than I have out of any of the iterations, to be honest.
Yeah,
And I'm kind of like, sorry, I kind of like coming from a team. At least when I used to coach, we kind of had no IGL, so I know there's at least stuff you can do to like cover it up, and everyone can kind of just take their own little bit. Everyone has their little role, and you can just hide it, sweep it under the rug, and pretend that pretend that everything's okay. So yeah, maybe they can do that and pull someone off. But
yeah, and that's what I was going to bring up, in that I think in this last week, they kind of found an identity that worked for them. Like, we're not going to be an NRG. We're not going to be a Fnatic. We can't really have that strategic depth, but what we have is just some crazy players. Lock the double duelist comps on half the maps, run it down, just work on like the micro coordination between the players instead of having like the perfect macro idea. And it worked in this game. It was crazy scrappy. Again, back to your point, Wyatt, if anything, I was more disappointed in Furia, if anything, from this matchup. But I think they found something that they can continue to build off of. Kurt, I sent you a little tweet in the chat box that I want you to pull up that is a good tweet. If we can get that one. And it's the question of, is Marved the GOAT IGL? Is this his time? Because I think what is really funny about this team is that the community narrative going into the future is just, I think, going to be, because looking at Twitter, it's like, everyone's like, Marv is the smartest player in the world. This tweet reads, is Marv to FNS what Vanity is to Steel? I never watched competitive CSGO, but I am familiar with the whole history of Vanity and Steel and Chaos, and how he credits Steel with teaching him how to IGL. Now, I know most people on this sub still doubt Marv's ability as a caller, but with the success Sen is having recently, maybe Crew isn't huge, but Furia is a strong team, I think it's fair to assume that a similar relationship has happened here. Finesse mentioned that he was mentoring Marv when they were on Optic. I think we are seeing here the results of Marv learning from Finesse how to IGL, and he is now the IGL of his own team after leaving Finesse's squad. Is this not the new Vanity Steel?
Wow.
What do you think
Didn't
of that,
you do a
Brendan?
sideline report, Mimi, on Sentinels with Marv as the IGL?
No, Josh did, I think.
Josh did. I remember somebody did, and I remember what was in that sideline report, which was just like, it sounded like Marv was, again, providing a rough idea and outline, but they just were taking it away from there. Like, they were just not getting sold on the idea of like where they were landing. They weren't getting, it wasn't like Marv being like, okay, guys, we're gonna do a 2-2-1 default here, and we're gonna land on A. We're gonna try to end A. It was just, here's the beginning, and then everyone else takes it away. Was the gist of it. That's what I was grabbing from that. When they were listening in on the comms as well, which makes sense because it doesn't have much experience. But dude, I don't know. The Valorant community sometimes just feels like someone's leading them astray. There's some false shepherds in the community, and I don't know where they are. We got to root them out, because I've seen some absolutely ludicrous statements from the Valorant community recently as well. I saw a comment from somebody who thought the observing was done by AI. And they were saying it with complete confidence. They were like, all the observing is done by AI. It's not people. It's the replays are human selected, but the observing is AI. I'm like, how are you speaking this with your chest on the internet? Like, you are speaking with so much authority on this, and they don't have a clue. They don't know what they're talking about. And I just read countless comments from people as well. Just, I don't know, weighing in their 2 cents with the Sentinel situation with Marv's IGL. I don't think he's adding too much. I think he's just literally giving them a core idea at the beginning of most rounds, and then they're just taking it away with a lot of the experience and veteran presence that they've got to get good mid-round adaptations.
Yeah, it does seem like they're just like the new, honestly, like what you were saying, Sliggy, it almost just seems like they're like the new Liquid. Someone can be like old Liquid, like someone can be like the person who's like having that mid-round idea, but so much of it is like there isn't a real IGL, and maybe that's okay if you just want a team with good clout that can find some upsets.
yeah, I mean, you can make it work. I think the only reason I didn't like doing it is because I didn't think I could win anything back to back, but it feels like no one can do that anyway. So it doesn't really matter too much. I think they can like have protocols in. If you've got the active voices and they're all experienced players, they're all smart players, they can just get little things. And as long as basically we just have a system like first call, you just listen to it and it's 100% golden. Like that's, you live or die by it. And honestly, it works so much in this game. They can just do stuff like that. I think they'll be fine as long as everyone's vocal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I just wanted to say about this game as well. I think a crucial point that we haven't mentioned yet is that Ten's played extremely well.
Oh, yeah,
and this
he did.
season, he's either had appalling games or excellent games. And all of his excellent games, aside from maybe one map, were all double duelist maps. And I think that is the crucial factor. All of the maps where he was the solo duelist, serious problems. But when he has Zekken alongside him on the site hits, significant improvement from him. It has really been one or the other. There is no middle ground with Tens right now, and it seems dependent on Zekken being the double duelist with him.
I think like what we were talking about in terms of the calling, this might help him. A little bit of freedom, like just to kind of do what he wants, not so set in stone of what to do, so he can kind of has that freedom to just take some peeks or like take timings that he thinks he has, and he's like you're saying, not the only duelist. So if he does die or whatever, they have someone else to entry. Yeah, I kind of hope they fall. It's not something that I think you can play on most maps double duelist, but I kind of hope they find a way to make it work, because I like watching them when they're like this. It's explosive. It's pretty good. Yeah, maybe the maps were pretty decent for it as well for the actual matchups that we saw. But yeah, in terms of just Tens on his own, like for sure, the best performance gives a bit of hope. It was one of those things where it's like it's like old Tens when he has like jet knives. You're like, well, he's gonna win the round. Like it's just a one round when he has it. So it's good to see it. A bit of that's the main hopium I think to take away from it. Like the calling looks pretty much the same as it was before, and like they're fragging out a bit more. Tens is actually
he's game.
When are we going to admit that FURIA were powered as well by a lot of Khalil's early performances? From like
I think
weeks
this
to
is the
1 to
time
3?
to admit it. But let's get back to FURIA in a second. And I think
You want
that
to keep talking about Sentinels?
No, I don't want to
No,
keep
I
talking
think
about Sentinels. I was about to say, we're moving on. This
She was
is
about to segue. Everybody relax.
guys,
okay.
Please, Brendan, please have
Sorry,
some
sorry,
respect. I was about to say, that is our mandatory, legally required Sentinel segment. We're now allowed to talk about other teams. Bren, thank you for your patience. You don't get FURIA, but guess what? You can talk about Crew. Are they the best, worst team
great.
in the VCT? I think it's pretty clearly yes. They end winless,
Yeah,
but they
so
have every game is fucking so close.
I looked through a bunch of like just VCT challenges to find the other winless teams throughout the history, and just to refresh myself, because again, don't know about you guys, I'm not really remembering the winless teams of 2022 and 2021. But there was teams like EG, Sentinels was winless at some point in their group. But this one's a little bit different because the group stage is much longer. I think out of all of them, they are, because they've played the closest in terms of their matches. Despite not winning a single one, they've been playing most teams quite close. But I don't know, yeah. I don't have much else to say.
I mean, I'm confident
I
they
would
would
say
beat
yes.
Detonation.
Yeah, they would beat Detonation.
if that's the head-to-heads, yeah, I'm on board with that as well.
So I think they take it just based off that.
I think it is just kind of true that they are just like the best worst. But I think we should just like set our sights on LCQ now, because that's what they have left to hope for. And it's kind of the question of how can they convert every game being super close to actually closing things out. And me personally, I almost feel like continuing down the road they've been going is solid. They've had this like crazy season where they've been like back and forth with rosters, plus Davies, minus Davies because of injury. Ashetti's playing 2 different roles. They're changing everything around. But once they got the consistent roster back in the last week, and I do think C9 was doing a bit of trolling in that game, but I also think that they were legitimately playing some good Valorant. Like, on Ascent, their attack side, like the mid-rounding, the decision-making that they were having looked very competent. It didn't look like a team that was only winning a map because Kesnet is God's gift to Valorant.
Yeah, Ascent has always been one of their better maps, though. Like, Crew have had a map pool that's like 1.5 throughout their entire time in the split, and it's been Ascent and half of Split. Well, then just like, and then it's like a coin flip on whether it's their attack side or good, a defense side that's good. That's how I've always felt about this team, but yeah, I think they they're just a product of probably unfamiliar territory. Like you're having to live in a foreign country for many weeks and compete in it. Like this isn't. You gotta think and empathize a little bit with a lot of these Latin American teams, Brazilian teams who are, moving to LA. They're out of their home country. They're not in familiar ground at all. And it's not the same as an event where it's like a short stint. At worst, it's going to be like 4 weeks. It's a full marathon, and you're going to be playing just with those circumstances as well. I think that detracts a little bit. Competition's only getting better, I think, in terms of Valorant being played. Teams are only getting better at the game across the board. There's, as the game evolves as well, so the bar's just constantly being raised as well. Yeah, I mean, they're not awful, but I don't know.
They should have been C9. Like they honestly should have been C9. It should have been a 2-0. Like after watching Lotus, like C9 were playing very loose at the beginning, and they had like 6 rounds or like 5 rounds in a row to like close it out, and they didn't do it. Yeah, there's some positives. Like Davies is looking really good. Like some of the individuals all at the same time is looking good, and I think that's rare for them. I don't think we see that too much. They seem to have, like, apart from Kesnet, who seems to have unlimited confidence. I think the rest of them seem to be lacking confidence. So yeah, I don't know. They seem to struggle to close out some games, but it's like that. I have no doubt they'll look better. The last chance qualifier. I was trying to think in my head, like, who on earth do I even favor in last chance qualifier? Actually, I have no idea who I'm even gonna like predict. I guess we got to see who the 3 for Tokyo are first, but it feels like it's up for grabs. I'm not saying they're gonna do it again. I'm not like in then they're gonna be any kind of favorites to win it. But I think they can upset. I think that it still is really close between like the kind of bottom mid teams in Americas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I definitely agree on the Davies point. He was significantly better against Sentinels than against C9. Early on in the season, he was not playing particularly well, and Kesnet really was the only player with any amount of firepower. The other 4 were just not contributing in that department at all. So the Davies step up is massive, but I think to make any kind of run, you need to see some significant individual improvement from the other guys on the team, because they're just not bringing enough to the table right now. It's
more of a IGLing diff as well, though, I think, because when the games get long, like what we saw in Lotus, when they get really pushed far, their ideas are so one-dimensional. They start running out of ideas very quickly. They just resort into just the same idea. Like Lotus, I can't tell you the amount of rounds we had that was just a coin flip 3v3 fight outside B main. It was insane. I was casting it, and it was like back-to-back rounds where they were just, it's whoever hits their shots and trades out. They weren't even using utility. They were just dry swinging. And it's super apparent when you watch their attack sides as well, because they're all very similar, like contacty style, slowing it down all the way, but doing like a lot of the same default setups on their attack side. And there's just not enough nuance, and they're not good enough to adapt and be on the same page in the mid-rounding when they do get those advantages as well. So that's really the biggest drop-off for me, for them. And of course, I mean, I agree with what you're saying as well, Wyatt, where, typically it's just Kesnet who's firing, and that's it. With the exception of that last match where Davies was also playing really well. But yeah, they have a multitude of issues. But maybe they could do some damage in LCQ. Like Sliggy was saying, is the middle of the pack seems, there's a lot of parity in the Americas right now, so we'll see.
Yeah, for crew, I feel like in specific with like talking about like Kesnet as an individual and stuff, like when they get into these really like long late games, it seems like when they're running out of ideas, because I think they come into games, like you're saying, with a very simple game plan of like, okay, we're gonna do like our 1-3-1 default on Ascent pretty much every round. We're gonna get Kesnet to pick in mid. We're gonna stall for our next like signature ability cycle, and then we're gonna like late hit a side. Like it's really simple stuff that they commit to. But when the pressure is on and teams start countering their like simple defaults or adapting, a lot of their like mid-game ideas seem very like individual centric. Like Kesnet will like feel the pressure to have to do something and like push down an extremity, take a fight, something like that. It seems like it's almost like kind of in one part the like lack of depth in strategy, and like part 2 just the kind of I think like pressure that some of the players feel to just like do something for the team. Like rounds like this. Look at that. They're just like flipping the round on a B fight when that B contact play they've done it like 3 times already and it just never works.
Just Klaus swinging with his knife out.
I keep seeing that. There was one today in Pacific as well, where someone just like swings with their knife out and just starts.
And that's
swinging,
exactly what I'm
just like,
talking about, where it's just like, it seems like they have pressure to try something new and don't really think about it in these late games.
Yeah. God. Can we move on?
Yeah, let's move on. All right, good luck to crew in LCQ. Let's keep talking about teams that have made us sad. And 100 Thieves
I'm
made
ready
me
to go off.
extremely
Jesus Lord
sad
Almighty.
in that series. Wyatt, pop off.
I mean, I have so much to say about this team from the beginning of the season until now that I don't even know where to begin. It's an iceberg of disappointment, and we will go through all the layers. I mean, what the positive I mean, it's not even a positive. Like, I mean, Cryo was in such poor form for the first half of the season, and then heats up towards the end, but the poor form he was in at the beginning of the season really just screwed them for the end because all of their tough matches were at the end. I mean, possibly their most important match of the entire season was the first one against Sentinels that they barely lost, and he was putting up nothing. And it was like OTs on every map, damn near. And then finally, at the very end of the season, he steps it up in a game where the team looks so nervous, which is another issue that has plagued them in countless matches and maps where I'm watching their players play in this passive way where they're not confident swinging for each other. It looks like a case of lost confidence on a lot of these games where even in a man advantage situations, they're just not swinging for each other. They're playing. It is the fucking dumbass sports quote, but I'm watching in a lot of situations where they're trying to play not to lose. They don't have the confidence to actually take the fights and win the rounds. They're just playing ultra safe. And that has been driving me crazy this entire season. Also in this game in particular, though, a lot of credit has to be given to MIBR. This might have been their best game the entire season, either this one or the one against NRG, but I think it was this one. They out of nowhere played an extremely solid game. Individually, they look good. JZZ is back on his old duelist role. He was playing really well, getting a lot of crucial kills. Chosen, who subbed in, was playing extremely well on the Killjoy. They were firing on all cylinders, and against a team that had everything to lose, and 100 Thieves were playing just so nervously. I mean, and again, I just, one of the massive issues for this team all fucking season, I think the critical issue is their map pool. Their picks and bans suck, and they don't know what their home map is. They kind of got trolled with Icebox getting removed, with that being their home map early on. But even still, I don't hate that they picked Fracture, but they haven't looked consistent on it. They got fucking flattened by NRG on this map. They beat FURIA, who were playing a pretty clueless game. I just don't see that being enough evidence to want to take a team here. One of the major keys when they did win on this map was Cryo really having significant impact with the AWP on defense. It took them a while to get the AWP online because they started slow, lost the pistol, lost multiple rounds after that. Just rushed a lot of their sight hits, like the one we were just watching. Like, Stellar goes down to a Killjoy early in that round, and the call is to just instant hit onto A. No players going sand. They just rush the site, so Cryo gets cut off. The rest of the players are trapped in halls. Just nervous, rushed plays. Just, I'm flat. I'm two-dimensional. I was really hoping they'd win this, but in the final hour, they just came out with a bunch of mistakes and errors that I was seeing early on in the season. Someone else take it away.
Okay.
I'm gonna rant and ramble. I'm gonna lose my goddamn mind.
It's all right.
They didn't
It's all
deserve
right. It's all right.
playoffs
It's
with
all
how they
right.
played. I quite like how they played in the second to last series, which was, what match was that?
But the thing is, it's like every other series that they have a good one. It's like you see them one week and you're like, oh my god, 100 Thieves is starting to look good. And then the very next series, they're falling back in these old issues. Like this game for me, I felt like I wasn't watching like beginning of the season, I felt like I was watching like 100 Thieves when they first made this roster. Like when Asuna first switched to Initiator and they just looked like really lost in a lot of the mid rounds. Like this is like a year ago, I'm talking. And I was seeing so many same issues. Like I feel like Asuna's improved so much as like an individual in the initiator role and how he uses the utility with the team and is coordinating with Derek. But here it was like falling back on old times where he's just like swinging through a smoke and like losing them a man advantage situation. Very similar thing where players just, it seemed like the pressure was getting to them and they were just making, honestly, kind of taking foolish risks that lost so many of these rounds. And on top of that, the like decision making at a more macro level, like the stuff you were bringing up, Wyatt, just looked so, I think rushed is the right word in a lot of these rounds.
Their poll looked better from last time. Like they were not just hitting B over and over again.
That's
they were
true.
actually
mid-rounding control.
They were getting some mid control in there.
Yeah.
They are improving. I think this is more of a wider factor as well of something that you brought up on your stream, Wyatt, about the fact that Mike's is kind of like him versus the world as in terms of like the coaching staff, right? Because a lot of people didn't even realize that he's just coaching currently alone. And because we're entering the esports winter where there's budget cuts, budget freezes, I saw a lot of people saying like, oh, well, it must be 100 Thieves' decision. It must be DDK and Mike's decision if they don't have any like extra help. And the implication there is that they've got this just budget just there willing to be, you know, and they're just waiting for the right person to pick up here. But I don't think people are really recognizing the current financial situation. I mean, 100 Thieves have laid off so much of their esports department as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they just don't have the resources to even pick up people. They've been operating with just one person doing the preparation for them, and that's Mike's. So I think that is a part of a wider issue because I have seen consistent improvements week on week. Like they've been fixing, like from match to match, the errors that we've been seeing, but it's just been too slow. And I think that's probably down to just bandwidth that they've got, right? In terms of the support staff.
Yeah, it certainly can be. Sorry, this is another point I didn't make on the map pool that I think has been crucial to their season, is that their permaban was Pearl in a pool of teams that float Pearl, except for Leviathan. And so they banned it against Leviathan. I don't think it's a surprise that they win that series. They actually got a good map pool there. But just banning a float for every team and then letting Ascent through was just unacceptable. Like, against Crew, for instance, they ended up winning that series, but they got fucking smoked on Ascent. At the time, they banned Pearl against Crew, which Crew had a 0% win rate on. Okay?
Yeah.
And they let through Ascent where they're actually good, and then they lost. That is just the map pool stuff was just unacceptable to me this season. I think that's been such a critical issue. And in this series as well, your point with the calling, Brent. I'm sorry, Slig, I know you want to talk. I'm just I'm losing my goddamn mind. But on your point with the calling, they had good mid-rounding on attack in this series. On Lotus as well, they made some great pivots in the mid-round. But their defense was just appalling on that map. Oh my lord. So, Sliggy, take it away. I'm losing my goddamn mind again.
Yeah, I was gonna say they got a little bit unlucky. Kind of like piggybacking off what you're saying is like so the permaban was Pearl, and then their Ascent was obviously really bad. Like really bad. Like you could tell the rounds when they had ult, you could tell they were gonna do this, they were gonna do that, whatever. And they got exposed like week 1, week 2, that they were just awful at this map, and then everyone's just like, oh, okay, well here's the weakness, and then they carried on trying to play it, and then it just felt like that backfired. And in terms of like the whole team itself, it just feels like the biggest momentum team I've ever seen. It feels like they literally only win if they get pistols, because then they can have the money, then they can get Cryo the op. If they do not win pistols, they don't get him an op until like the 8th round or something. They never like make the cuts to actually get him the op out. And it's just the biggest win condition for him. You watch him when he has an op, he's like a world-class player. Like, damn, he just takes over games. He carries everything. And then you're just watching these games where it's like, right, we've all got 4.2, we've all got 3.8. Let's get the light armor and like actually do that. But the whole point in buying like light armor is that you can actually save for these kind of guns. Like, you're saving money to actually like build up on this. And I think they need to recognize what their win condition is. And in my mind, it's like, this guy has to get an op. And so when you're losing a pistol, someone, or like, you have to take a bit of a hit, whether it's like having a set play that you like to do with like a cheaper gun, whether it's like a Judge or just like a Guardian or just anything small like that to get him an op, because it just feels like it's all reliant on the pistol. If they win the pistol, I'm like, they're gonna win this. If they lose the pistol, they're just out of it. And yeah, it just feels like it took them a long time to recognize it, and I'm not even sure they 100% know it themselves. And yeah, in terms of the coaching stuff, I mean, that must be a nightmare if that's, because I don't really know what happened to James, because I knew they had him at the beginning, right? They had James
Yeah.
IRL.
They
and
never really announced anything with that. He just kind of like disappeared and posted an LFT, and there was no
And that was
publication
it.
ever of what happened.
Yeah,
I know for a
because I
fact,
was
though.
asking people, I was like, does anyone even know? But I didn't hear anything.
Well, I know that not related to James, but
Hmm.
they did have a huge like analytics team at the 100 Thieves company, right? Regarding the esports division, and it was supposed to be, I think, building a bunch of stats based stuff for them, just to help out the esports side of stuff. I don't know what that entails, but they had a specialized amount of people at the company that were supposed to be assisting with a lot of that, a lot of the coaching, or just like taking off a lot of the weight and responsibility from, I guess, the various esports divisions, and that ended up getting cut. I think heading into, I think even lock-in. I think around that time. So they've been, 100 Thieves have been making cuts and budget saves and whatnot for quite some time. I wouldn't be surprised if the move was related to that, but I don't know for certain.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This round, there's so many close games in
I know.
Americas where there's like a diffuse that's about to literally just happen in like 0.1 second, and then they either die or they get it. There's so much crazy stuff happening in Americas. These games are close. In terms of like 100 Thieves, though, just going back to it, it's like you lot was saying earlier in terms of like Cryo had a slow start. I'm telling you, he only has a slow start if he doesn't have an op. That's
I
like,
100%
it all
agree.
boils down to that for me.
I 100% agree. The major problem early on for them was that his entering was, his attack sides were the serious struggle. They actually had, they actually have a lot of, and early on, even on their Lotus when they were playing a weird comp against C9, they were trying to set up Cryo effectively with a lot of little util combos that I hadn't seen from other teams they were doing to set him up, and they were working to the extent that it got him in position, but he was just losing duels, not getting the kills. His entering was such a struggle for them. And one of the, to touch on what you're talking about with the op, first of all, bad meta for opping. And second of all, what was driving me fucking crazy was one of the worst narratives about this team was they need to watch Xset and see how they were setting up Cryo. Bro, he was not fucking entering on that team. He was playing Chamber on defense, going crazy with the op. And like, that was not his role. He's doing something different on this team, and it was not working for them early on attack. I think it got a bit better towards the end of the season. I think he was finding a bit better form with the rifling, but I 100% agree. It was so dependent on the opping. Like, that's what you saw in that Fracture game where they looked really good against Crew. He got the op early, and he was just getting picks every single round over and over and over. But then, yeah, slow start here against MIBR, they're just totally out of it. It's anyway.
It's really tough for 100 Thieves, and I think we can doom and gloom about it forever. But at this point, they're just looking towards LCQ. Before we move on, I just kind of want to ask, do you guys think that they'll make changes off of this? Because we've seen in the past that this org has been pretty reactionary with roster changes in their Valorant team in the past. Do you think this is something where they're going to stick with this project or try and change something up? Because even if they do, I don't know what the change is. I could see them maybe thinking like, oh, could we get a better IGL? Could we try and like improve our leadership? But like, I don't see who is on the market right now that would improve this team.
I don't think they should make changes. I think there's a lot of small things that they can optimize before you want to make changes. And with LCQ being in a relatively, what is it, like a month before LCQ or so?
Pretty much, yeah.
I wouldn't want to make any significant changes to this team. I would want to get Mike help. I would want to get someone who can specifically work on their defense side, because I think they've done a good job of improving on attack. And I would try and optimize their map pool, find some... They need to get more maps to the level of quality of their Split and Haven. Like, I would like to see them do something with Bind, maybe the double duelist, get Asuna on Raze. I mean, Asuna had just been there. Asuna, without a doubt to me, had been their best player this entire split. I would like to see him play Raze more at this point. He's a more reliable entry for their team, even if they just run the double duelist on Bind. But I need to see them get a third map that they can play at a really strong level here, and at least 3 because I don't think they have a third reliable one.
Yeah, in talking with Sean a lot, because he's been on the desk for the last few weeks about this team, I think one of the interesting things that stuck with me is like when it was him and Mike working on this team together. I think at one point towards the end of 2022, they had started, if I'm remembering correctly, like splitting up their responsibility between the two of them on kind of like one's working on attack side, one's working on defense side, and then kind of having one person like lead that side and then like talking with each other in the team and kind of like auditing the ideas they came up with. And from what I was talking with him, that seemed like it worked pretty well with them to have those few voices, because Mike is really good at building that strategy thing. But sometimes just having that like extra person who can like ask questions, help like audit like these strategies and think like, hey, if they do this, what can happen? What can we change? Could very much help. So maybe a second voice would be additive to this team outside in their preparation. Because as we've seen, like, these players are insane. They achieved a ton last year with this same core roster. We know that they can get to a point where they have a really deep map pool. I mean, back in the day, they had like a insane bind. They had an insane haven. Their Pearl at Champions was really good as well. Like, they've been at this point before. And I'm kind of with you, Wyatt, where I think this roster still has the potential to regain that height.
Yeah, I'm on board with that as well. It's just like, I don't know, I still believe in the team. I still think they're good. I look at everyone in their role and it feels like they do well enough. And I don't think like there's anyone that super stands out that would just be like, yep, this is 100% going to make them this much better. Yeah, I don't really want to see them do it. Again, I would like to see them get some coach stuff if that's the main thing. Or or maybe even just like if it is a budget thing, like I'm not sure how much Twifu does as a sixth, but teams like, even if we look at the MIBR assistant coach and like the Heretics assistant coach and like the Carmine Corp assistant coach, like they're always standing in and they're putting up numbers, and I know that they're helping behind the scenes, like they're doing a lot. So I feel like that person can kind of fill the void. Maybe they need to find someone that's a sixth that can be more flexible, not just a good player, but someone that can actually just chip in and do the kind of the hard work that needs to be done. Because when you're a coach and there's just so much to do, there is so much stuff to do, and a lot of times you like hyper focus in on yourself, and there's just so many problems, and it just overwhelms, and you can't like see from the outside in and see like the easy fixes. So yeah, I definitely feel like an extra pair of eyes is gonna help them. So I do think that maybe that's an easy way out, where, because every team has to have a sixth, they can just get a sixth that helps them more with like assistant coaching. I think that makes sense. And as we've seen, even the MIBR game, like the assistant coach looked unbelievable. Like their sixth looked unbelievable. He chips in so much of all this stuff. It's like, you might as well, you can find someone like that. Maybe not as good as like Twifu is, but they can just stand in and just win these rounds if you ever need them, if they ever have to have a sixth. But I just think that's like the best way to do it if it's like a budget thing, because you're forced to have a sixth anyway.
Yeah. Oh, before we move on to the teams who have made playoffs and do our little pick'ems, let's actually talk about MIBR, because we've been dooming about 100 Thieves, but the team that beat them, like we've already said, looked incredible. And like you were mentioning, it was the sixth player who came in and stepped up. And there was this article that was released 2 weeks back when they first had Heat step out from a Brazilian publication, talking about the fact that there were some internal issues with MIBR, that there was like some conflict between like kind of Heat and Coach Bazooka around like ideas of how the team would continue in terms of like strategy and what ideas they would go for. Heat wanted to play more loose, Bazooka wanted to have more structure. I don't know if that article is fully clear of what the internal dynamics of this team are, because we can't fully know. But what we can know is that Heat went out and this team looked more coordinated and quality than they have all season.
Yeah, they did the second time, right? Because they did play.
They played last
the
week.
first time, yeah.
It looked pretty dire, but this is the second time I've seen this happen in esports, by the way, which is like the vibe shift. Just someone messing up the vibes, and you get them out.
Yeah.
And theoretically, they're a great player on paper. They're an amazing player on paper. But you get them out, and suddenly the team is fucking popping off, because it's like, I don't know. I think this is the perfect mixture of circumstances where they had absolutely zero pressure. Last game in the regular season, they want to go out with a bang. They want to have some fun with it, and all the weight and pressure just is off your shoulders. And you're playing against a team with all the weight and all the pressure on their shoulders because they're playing for their playoffs. That coupled with the fact that, you know, if what they're saying about, you know, Heat not being aligned in some of the direction of what the head coach wants for the team, that's a big issue, right? If you're the spearhead of your team isn't aligned with the ideology that you want to go with. And so if you get them out, that can really kind of crush a team throughout a season if not everybody is aligned in terms of the way that they want to play. And I think that, yeah, it was just the right circumstances all came together at the right moment for this team to actually just be, properly unleashed.
I think that's like the big takeaway from a lot of this VCT split. If I'm looking at it and I'm a player, it's like I think this is a great example. Like Heat's an unreal player. You put a sixth in, six for assistant coach in there, and they literally look better. The vibes are better. If it's the same as Heretics, right? They got rid of Zeke because it was like a personality conflict. Like that's pretty bold to say. You know that something internally is going wrong.
Yeah.
You put in a player that hasn't played for like 2 years really, and the team looks like twice as good. And Zeke is a champions player. Like he was literally
Champions
like one
MVP.
of the best. Yeah, he's a champions MVP. So in theory, one of the best players in 2021. And he's getting replaced by a person that hasn't played like competitively for 2 years, and the team looks way better. Like, is that not just a big wake up call to all of these like kind of ego kids? Like,
Yeah.
just
I mean,
drop
I
the
think what it
ego.
shows us is it's just
Like,
like how
really?
important it is to just have good team vibes in this game
Yeah.
and to not be an asshole. Like, I think it's like similar with a lot of squads where I think I kind of look at EG, for example, where you don't have to have the perfect players, the world's best, like insane individual, like a Heat. You just need a team who has an idea of how they want to play the game, have an identity and strategies that they stick to, and players that are willing to play into that system, add ideas, question things when they need to, but still commit to the plan that they have together. And you can do great things with that, as we've seen continue to be proved. And for MIBR now, they're out. This was just kind of a little send-off game, have some fun, destroy every piece of joy for 100 Thieves fans like Wyatt, and then go on your merry way. But they still have LCQ. And what I thought was interesting in the post-game interview after they won this match, Chosen said that they were expecting to have Heat back for LCQ, which I was really confused by, because from that article, I thought, like we were just talking about, hey, this was a vibes thing. They needed someone who fit the system a little bit better. So I want to ask what you guys make of that and the future of this team.
I've seen this before, where teams like make this decision to bench a really good player as like a slap on the wrist, and like here, look at what happened when we had everybody agreeing with what we needed to do. By the way, it's like, look at this. Like, yeah, you're
By
a
the way,
great
look
player.
at this, what's on your screen.
I'm closing
the way
my
this game
eyes. I
ended
can't
was
watch this.
ridiculous.
I'm closing my eyes. I can't watch this
So
again.
sick.
I can't watch this again.
I feel like
This
this
is
might have been like the
cry.
best clutch of VCT Americas. Like, that might have been the best moment, honestly.
He played unbelievable though. That
Oh,
stand
stop.
played unbelievable.
A coach, a manager.
The other
Stop playing
1v2 that he did on B as well is just incredible. And he clutches it out
Bro,
like
that
this.
is
Like
just-
it's all meant. It's always meant to be. It is meant to be.
Jumping
It's
right
written.
click.
It was so hype. It really was.
Oh,
Yeah, but Brent,
yeah,
sorry,
I
continue
think,
your point. Or go ahead. Sugi.
I
Sorry, I was
finished my
gonna-
point pretty much.
I was going to chime in and just say like it's like the second chance thing that we're saying. It's like
Yeah.
if you're the person that gets kicked from the team and you're looking in and you know the person that is replacing you is worse than you 100%, like in all these cases they're worse than the person replacing them, but the team looks better. You gotta reflect inside in and be like, I am the problem. Like you might, the proof is literally there in front of you. If you can't accept that you are the problem, there is no hope for your career. Like there is no hope for your career. So hopefully people can kind of look back in and go, okay, this is a big wake up call, second chance. Let's commit to the IGL, commit to the coach, commit to whatever they're saying. Get on board and let's just see it. Like it can't look any worse than it did. Like so let's. Hopefully it's a wake-up call and a second chance. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was that got benched, sorry, but you just reminded me of one of Avast said something when someone got benched. He was like, sometimes the ego player needs to get benched so they can remember that they're but a speck in the universe or something like that, which is just so true. Oh,
No,
jeez.
it is like a bit of perspective. It goes a long way, and a lot of gamers who are like privileged that haven't had normal jobs and stuff. It's very hard to kind of get a perspective on just how reality is and how the world works. And sometimes you're not always right. So,
Let's see if he can just have his Marcus Aurelius arc. He is a rock. Nothing affects him. He must improve mentally. He must be a part of the team. But yeah, we'll see what happens with them for LCQ. But let's talk about Americas holistically and who we felt were our season MVPs. There's a lot of really great players. There's a lot of teams who made crazy recoveries, EG and NRG with their run back, Cloud9 being on top of the world. So I think there's a lot of players that are good shouts for this. But Wyatt, why don't we start with you? Who were you feeling for the MVP of the Americas groups?
Easy choice for me. My MVP, Venus. He was by far he was by far the best IGL to me in this split. And in the second half of the season, NRG were just fucking unreal. I mean, I'm tempted to somehow include Chet in this, but the calling was just perfect, and the amount of fucking variation in the plays that they have to take map control, the little plays to find cheeky picks that no one else is doing, that they can even just do once, never do again, but it just instills fear in the team they're playing that they could when they're reviewing their games. They were just on another level in the second half of this split. I mean, they started, a little experimental, maybe hoping they could get some wins without showing off everything, without needing artists to go to the jet, but they hit the fucking nuclear option and just eviscerated every team at the end. They were just insane in their last 5 games. So I have to give it to Finesse for just being by far the best IGL for this split.
Okay, I respect that. I had to pick someone who is a voice on a team, like Finesse, but also just a giga insane player. So I choose Leaf. Statistically, he was the second best individual performer of the entire split here for Americas. But on top of that, hearing from the team and listening to their comms at times, this guy just does so much. From talking to his teammates, he's not actually going in and grinding DM and ranked and stuff all day, every day. He just watches so much Valorant. He is like the Sliggy of pro play. This guy is going back, watching every VOD, and they said that he knows whenever they're playing up against a comp, hey, I've watched a VOD of this. I know how to counter this. I know how we can play against this. He just really is that guy who his mechanical skill is so ridiculously insane that he's at the point where it's like, okay, I'm locked on my mech. I can focus solely on improving my knowledge of the game and bringing ideas to this team, bringing ideas in the mid rounds. It seems like he just adds so much. And well, he's still young. I think he's 19 or 20. He's also one of the more experienced players, so I'm sure was pivotal in helping to bring Jake and Rooney into this team and making them feel comfortable. And on top of that, I think he was the best duelist player of the split. Loud fans are going to be most people will say probably Osprey was the best player, easy peasy, but Osprey is only playing Jet, and he's fantastic at that. But Leaf can play everything. He played Killjoy, he played Skye, he played Jet. I think he's the best Neon player in the league. He's so incredibly flexible to be able to play any role this team needs in any composition, to allow them the flexibility to play all these different cool comps, like their Ascent comp, like their Lotus comp that looks so good, and he's able to consistently perform, add value to the team in the comps, and also bring ideas in. It just seems like he's the perfect player for Cloud9.
Good choice, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think off the back of that, I'll go next as well then, because I picked Leaf as well.
Oh.
I just pretty much echo everything you said. I speak to Cupid, who's their sixth a lot, and he's just I was like the anti that they did against 100 Thieves. I was like, oh, was that you? And he was like, no, it was Leaf. He knew what to do when they had Viper and stuff like that. He knew what to do on these rounds, what they were likely to do and how they wanna approach it and call against it. And I just think that's incredible. He had big boots to fill picking up Jet when I guess it would have been yay or so, it really, if we think about it beforehand. So he had really big shoes to fill, and he's just delivered. And then in theory he's just fragging out and calling, and like you said, Mimi, I think this whole attitude of just watching loads instead of playing loads, if you're mechanically gifted and you watch loads, you're only gonna get better. That's the fastest way to learn, and I think that's probably what a lot of players lack. So for me, yeah, it's just he kind of what you're saying. He just seems like a perfect player, a player that is so young, super bright future, is already got a lot of experience. He's calling a lot and watching a lot, and takes control of rounds, and just has pure confidence and is mechanically unbelievable. I think he's going to be he's going to be like one of the best in the game. Like it just feels like it's set up, and all they need to do is like get big results and do it on a big stage for people to actually just like fully believe it.
One singular Leaf.
Yeah. Another
What a
nice note
guy.
about Leaf is that he has the highest first kills per round in the league while playing a bunch of non-duelists,
Yeah.
which is pretty sick.
It's
Yeah.
it's insane.
And that's above Oswald, by the way, who only plays Jet.
Yeah, and like I was tempted to put people from Loud, but in terms of like where my expectations were and like what I'm the most impressed by, like C9 is there, and he's at the front of it.
Is it my
Cool.
turn?
Yeah, Brennan, go for it.
Yep.
What'd you
Reveal.
pick?
Mine's a hot take.
Okay.
I think
Mm.
a little bit
How
of a hot
hot?
take. For
I
mine.
don't like that smile. That makes me very
it's
nervous.
not. I
Where's he
don't think
taking
people will be
us?
taking too much issues when I explain my reasoning for it. But I went with Victor as my America's regular season
Okay.
MVP.
That's fair.
And similar reasons as to why you guys were picking Leaf, I think, just in terms of the flexibility. But I just have to give immense credit to Victor as a player, because I think throughout his entire career, he's been quite underrated. You know, like when he was playing on the Optic corner, winning everything, everyone's talking about yay Marved, you know, finesse as well with his calling. But
I mean, I think
Victor-
people thought of him as the worst player on Optic.
yeah, people
That
would
was the
always call him the
community
worst
narrative last
player,
year.
but I think Victor has showcased as well that he's got that flexibility. Like, it takes a lot. You can one trick your role of duelist, and you kind of know the general feel of where you're going to be fitting into most compositions. You know you're going to be leading the charge in most cases. You know where to be standing. You know that you're going to be supported with utility in some instances. I'm saying not all the time, because you know, if you're playing double duelist, the order of that might change. But Victor, he's been playing Killjoy. He's been alternating between that. Even the Viper when he's pulling that out as well. I don't think he's been playing as much of the flash initiators, but he's been rapidly changing his role in terms of where he plays. It completely changes up the way your play style as well, and the way you have to think about a game on a round-to-round basis. And he's just been taken to all of it like a fish in water. It's been amazing to watch. And a core reason as to why NRG have been doing so damn well is because he's just been able to be that glue player to fill in the gaps of whatever's needed and really just pop off as well. So yeah, I gave it to Victor, I think, because yeah.
One
player.
of the things that stuck with me about Victor was an interview. I think it was an interview with him after their most recent win, talking about like how he can be so flexible. And what he said was basically that like Finesse and Chet will cook up a comp, an idea for a map, and they'll be like, hey, for this, we need someone to flex. We need you to play this role. And they'll like tell him the win conditions, tell him the like main things he has to do on that agent. And he said that his thing is like, I can play any agent. All I do is I just go, I focus on my mechanics, make sure I'm comfortable on the agent, and I just know their plan and can always implement it on any agent. Like, he's just like so incredible. Honestly, like you were bringing up, very similar to Leaf, at just kind of getting an agent, being the guy who's willing to make his teammates comfortable and instantly understanding where he needs to be, what are the win conditions when he's playing on that agent, and also being just so gifted on every single one. And I mean, look at the history. Like, he was a Neon player for them for a lot of last year. He had a stint playing Jet. He's been playing like controllers at one point, flexing on it. Like, this guy has done everything.
And he's a bit of a himbo as well, you know? Like, he's a bit relatable in that regard, because I don't know. I like him.
Do
It
you
was me
think
that did that interview with him as well.
Oh,
Mimi,
it was?
That was the interview I did with him, and I already knew that was the case as well, because like Chet is very counter strat heavy. He loves to read tendencies of teams, loves to cook up strats based on what the opponents are going up against as well. But you need a player like Victor to facilitate that. It's all well and good being a coach in that fashion, but players like Victor are few and far between. There's too many that want to be the ego player and want to play their roles and are selfish, you know, and are not going to play for the team like that. But Victor is that guy. He is that dude.
Yeah,
He
I
is.
like them, like the silent guy that just has to, he's the glue basically.
Yeah.
Silent guy that you just know you can rely on. Because like in Liquid, I pretty much had Soulcast and Link. They were like the two where I'd just be like, sorry man, you gotta play this agent for this one. But it's nice to have like someone that just goes, yep, like, what do you want from me? Like they're the sickest players to work with. Like they're the best ones. So yeah, it feels like he's the glue. And honestly, just on a straight up just stats fragging basis, he's been unbelievable. Looking really good.
I mean, he's like right there. You wouldn't think it, but he's right there with Aspas and Leaf in terms of just ratings and the numbers he's been putting up.
He's a
Like,
top
again,
5 player in the league right now, just off of stats, and that's
you just-
again
you
while
just
playing
wouldn't think
all
it.
those different agents.
Yeah, and you wouldn't think it because, again, it's just, I think just, again, the same narratives carrying over from last year to now where, yeah, just kind of gets overlooked a little bit, but
He's pretty sick. All right, well, those seem like some pretty reasonable choices. I'm surprised that there's no Loud player on here. There's
Yeah, I
Leaf
was-
Spick for top player, and
I was
that seems like a
tempted
pretty good
with
choice.
I was tempted with Less. Less has been playing pretty well from Loud, but I just went for the sheer factor of my expectations of C9 were like fully in the bin when they made the roster change. So that's more where I'm at with it. But obviously, Loud's like a good amount of them can be there. Definitely Less deserves some kind of runner-up medal for me.
I feel like Osboss almost has a Yeg issue now, where everyone expects him to be so
That's the
good
issue,
every
yeah.
game, and he's so incredible and saves them every game that people just like forget about it. Like Leaf is like, for me, he's like the new guy. It's like, oh, Leaf's back. Oh my God, he's so good. He can play all these agents. It's so sick. And then like Osboss, they'll lose a map and he'll just like drop 35 to bring them back in and be like the best site anchor while playing Jet. And we're just like, yeah, it's an Osboss game. So I think he got robbed not getting any of us voting for him because he was fucking incredible.
Yeah, it's what you get for being world class, really. Just world class
He had
consistency.
one bad map the entire split. One.
that was from
and it was like
the-
shocking.
Was it the NRG one?
Against
Yeah.
NRG.
And where
I mean,
their like entire game plan was to
Where
shut him
they
down.
just jumped
it was
on
an
him.
NRG masterclass. Yeah, I mean, they shut him down so hard in that game.
But every other map he's managed to perform consistently. So credit to
Yeah.
Osboss. But we've talked about all the teams that are going to be in LCQ that aren't going to be making it. But let's actually talk about the teams who have made it to playoffs, who have a chance in Americas to make it to Tokyo and do our playoff pick'ems. So the way this one works is there are 2 buys for these teams. If you make it to the upper final, you're in Tokyo. And I think if you make it to the lower final, you're in Tokyo as well. So let's start with these early matches. It's kind of like North America side versus South America side
Yeah, it's
on the
crazy.
bracket. And it starts with fraudsters versus fraudsters with Leviathan and Furia. Neither of them won to get into playoffs. They both lost to get into playoffs. And honestly, have both been on like kind of a downward spiral after crazy high expectations to begin the season.
right, yeah, I think there's a bit of a cheat code in the regular season that a lot of teams have worked out. Like EG have worked this out. They worked this out and made a bit of a turn with it. And it's counter-shotting is king in the regular season. And prepping and counter-shotting what teams are doing is so damn important when you have all the VOD footage as well. And EG were originally a team that was like heavily set on preset ideas. Guess what? Doesn't really work too much when the ideas go awry and you're forced to adapt and things. It's much more consistent to get that counter shutting down. Leviathan have been, I think, ignoring every other team's VODs and just only playing the same shit every round. This wasn't really hammered into my head until I was hanging around with Josh, and we were watching Ascent in the green room. He was prepping for the interview of their last game, and he was, before the round even began, he called the exact step-by-step procedure of what King was going to do with his utility. Like, exactly. And it was like, we're like 30 seconds into the round, and he called the exact movements of King as a player on the side. He's like, right, he's going to knife here. He's going to rotate to Cat. He's going to hold this jiggle angle. He sees Cat pressure. He's going to nade now. And like, it just played out exactly as it was because they haven't changed any of their setups. They haven't been throwing new shit at. And part of that is like owner in interviews saying, they don't really do much counter-stratting. They just only prep their own ideas and just go ahead with that. And that's all they do. But they haven't shown any new ideas either. So I think this is why we feel like Leviathan are a fraudulent team, is because actually their ideas are good. It's just everybody fucking knows about them by this point. So they're getting ripped apart.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should go back to like the best analogy is like when we were putting together a premier team and we were trying to learn like Ascent and stuff. The team we immediately looked towards to like get good, like fundamentally sound, like default strats was Leviathan because they've innovated a lot of the stuff. The A Heaven split on their pistol rounds, the way that they play in the mid rounds. It's all really fundamentally well thought out, well set up, and I think that's why they just harvest at the beginning of tournaments because before they've shown their stuff, it's just so well executed, it's so well structured, and they pound. It was the same thing at Lock-In as it was in the first few weeks of Americas, and then as we get later on, as we get towards the end, they struggle to implement new ideas, fall back into these same things. And when teams counter them...
This is such a hard counter here.
Yeah, exactly. Right? They're going to go that A main always, and it's just instantly punished. And teams continue to do this. And I don't know. I feel like maybe it's an issue of the IGLing, of not being as good as coming up with things on the fly, having to overly rely on the structure. In part, it's an issue of not counter-stratting, but it just puts Leviathan in this really weird position where we know that they're such a good team with such good ideas, but as seasons get longer, they just get worse.
Can I chime in with the one thing that I hate about this team?
Sure. Please.
It's they get off to a great start. They'll win the pistol. It'll be like 3-3, 3-2, and you're like, this is a pretty close game. Like this is good. This is a close game. And then they'll have this one round. Everyone's money's low. It's like a big swing round. You're like, oh, okay. They need to like this is a massive one. Whoever loses has to eco. They'll lose 2 kills. And it'll be like a 5v3, and then they'll save with 3 people, and they won't try and do any damage. And then everyone alive on the other team gets 3,000. They already have their guns. No one has to rebuy armor, and they just have unlimited money for the rest of the half. And then they just get absolutely wrecked, like in the rest of the half, because they'll like win one round, but then they've got to win like 3 in a row to break the economy. And it's just like, how can you? And it goes into like what you're saying about like the anti-stratting and just focusing on them. It's like, that's not how the economy works in this game. You have to focus on the enemy's economy more than yours, because otherwise this happened. You give them 1 round and they can just buy for the rest of it. They can do light armor a little bit as well, just to help it out here and there. And it's just like you're up against, you'll be 5 rounds in and you're up against the next 7 rounds being full buys. And I hate it. I hate watching it. And every game lasts like 20 minutes longer just because they're like, well, we lost this one. We need to go save. And it's like, dude, that's not... It's not CS. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that happens a lot.
It is. It's pretty mad that we've ended up in this space where really all we have to say, or all we have to offer, are frustrations with how far they've fallen from the beginning of the season, where the hype was maxed out. And I think they've lost as well a lot of what they focused on that was making them good early this year in the how well drilled they were at trading for each other, just the going back to the fundamentals, where a lot of that has gone out the window. I think specifically in reference to Taco's position on the team, I'm watching him try and do too much at certain times because I think he's been struggling and he wants to find more impact, but it's putting him in poor positions. It's getting him picked off when he shouldn't be. But I'm also watching Leviathan send that man out to fucking die on his own. They're not giving him the help that they were giving him earlier on this year. I'm watching him on Lotus try and, push up in rubble on his own with his teammates just playing behind a Viper wall, just spamming. They're not, like, they're flashing, they're not pushing forward, they're not helping him, they're not picking up an angle, they're just sending him out to fight the world on his own. And I don't think he's in the best form he's been in, but I don't think they're doing him any favors, and it's just resulted in this situation where I now think he's kind of mentally out of it. He's trying to find too much impact. He's taking bad swings. He's like, I'm watching him in A short. He's getting reconned, and he keeps holding the angle with an AWP, and he just dies. It's you're trying to do too much. And I'm watching in these last couple games, Mizzino is just... They're just losing players for no fucking reason at all. Mizzino's against Cloud9 on Aven, he's jump peeking into a drone and then getting spammed because he gets tagged when they hear the drone coming up C long. There's another round on C long where he's backside and he's trying to cross the Plat while C hit is coming in. He smokes for the cross and then he starts running before it blooms and he dies. Just shit, like, they're just giving away kills. They're just making these errors that you would have never expected from Leviathan because they just seemed like this well-oiled, drilled fucking machine from Sergeant Owner at the military training, just making them this team. But it's just, I feel like so much of that has just gone out the window at this point. The second half of the season has just been disappointment.
Yeah.
They've had some close maps, but they've thrown away so many rounds that it's just hard to feel confident in them at this point.
But here's the cope.
Okay, cope. We've been very negative. You have to cope.
We've been very negative. Their strength of schedule has legitimately been quite hard. I think they've played every team when they are starting to peak, and it's been difficult. They started off, they played Gen.G when Gen.G wasn't looking fantastic. They stomped them in map 2. That was their first win. Then they played FURIA, when FURIA looks like the best team in the world, when we thought they were the best team in Americas, and were coping out of the wazoo. Khalil was
playing like that.
harvesting. Plus 21 against them in that game. Then they play against Sentinels, and Sentinels played fine, but they beat them pretty handily. Same with MIBR. MIBR looked bad, stomped them out, and then the difficulty ramped up again. They played 100 Thieves in one of the weeks where 100 Thieves was actually looking really good.
Icebox was still in rotation.
Yeah, Icebox was in the pool. There was some good ideas on their Haven. It was one of the first few times they played that Gecko comp. And it was when 100 Thieves for the first time found out how to play Lotus and actually played a good comp on that map, which wasn't something they could have prepared for. Then they play against EG again when EG's starting to hit their stride. And then, after beating Crew dominantly, their final 2 games are against Cloud9 and Loud. They have had a really difficult end of the season besides that Crew game. And they've only just scraped by into playoffs. But I think that can act as a wake-up call for them to play better. And on the other hand, for FURIA, I have not seen them play against teams of that same quality. They played against NRG when NRG was playing really well. They could map off them. That was respectable. But in both the 100 Thieves and Sentinel series that they ended on, I was just wildly unimpressed with FURIA. It felt like they were so degraded. DigiZin's just taking solo fights. It's completely uncoordinated. When late rounds come around, people are just like panicking and making weird plays. It was just like such rough Valorant from FURIA compared to Leviathan, who I think were still definitely struggling because they got prepped against really well, but they were playing the 2 best teams in the league.
I think this match then just comes down to, are FURIA going to do their homework? Because I don't think there's enough of a turnaround to completely reinvent certain maps and your defaults. Maybe you can add a few more ideas in for Lev, but the player quality of Lev, I think, will outclass FURIA if it comes down to that. But if FURIA do their homework, and again, they just have good ideas about, they know like what maps Lev like to play, know how they play their Ascent. It's at this point, everybody knows how they play their Ascent. FURIA also pretty good at Ascent. So I think the map pool might end up shaking out in their favor. And then it comes down to, have they done their research? I'm tempted to pred FURIA.
I lean predding Leviathan. I've just been really unimpressed with FURIA the last few weeks, and I don't know, something about me just wants to believe that Leviathan is going to get their shit together and implement some new stuff for playoffs. That they're going to see these last 2 games is pretty unacceptable.
I need convincing.
What's your thoughts on this, Slaker?
I'm trying to like work out the maps because so Haven's probably going to get played, right? And FURIA look unbelievable at Haven at the moment with the Harbor Viper. Only 100 Thieves beat them, I think, when they've been doing this.
Yeah, they did. And
right?
I think, sorry to interrupt,
No,
but I was just going to say, FURIA played so much better on Haven against Sentinels. They were making a lot. They were throwing against 100 Thieves, genuinely. Like their harbor was missing high tides, leaving gaps for 100 Thieves to peak that FURIA thought wouldn't have been there. They thought that it would be covered up by it. Like little things like that. DigiZin was over pushing constantly. They played significantly better against Sentinels. They really turned that map around.
Yeah, because I'm worried about Haven because. Yeah, kind of what you're saying. Like 100 Thieves had a good game plan where like they just played Heaven because Heaven's like really hard to cut vision off with this comp. You have to have a lineup, and it looks like they don't have a lineup. They only use like the one of the waves. I can't remember how they're called. They use one of the waves to block it, and then yeah, when they played against Sentinels, they had like the one way on C, and they're starting to still implement and use like different stuff as well. Like their after plants are just incredibly strong because they just pick up the Viper smoke and then they have it. Yeah, like you can't really
nano swarms to layer it. You just literally can't retake.
Yeah, it looks like you can't retake. Yeah. So I'm just trying to think in terms of this matchup, like what maps do Lev win? Because I don't see them winning Haven. Pearl. Honestly, I think they can win Pearl because FURIA
they own Pearl.
Yeah, I think FURIA had a bit of a life game on Pearl if we just look at their Pearl last time they played. Because that's the game, right, where Khalil was just one-tapping in B all the time.
A lot of their early games were, yeah.
Yeah, and we were just like, he's the best player. But I think that was against Lev, and so that's why they won that. And then, yeah, maybe I'm leaning towards Lev, but I think they lose Haven and they're a map down. But then maybe every other map they can
I think
win.
Leviathan win Ascent too. FURIA, since actually they beat Leviathan on that map with like that crazy defense side comeback, they've just not looked as great there. Like there's been a lot of disconnect with like DigiZin on their attacking sides in particular that have fallen apart in some of their games. Whereas like, I don't know, both those teams have had issues on Ascent. Oh, this one I think is going to be like incredibly close, but I still like lean siding Leviathan. Wyatt, what do you reckon?
I'm going with Furia on this one. I think one of the benefits of this matchup for them in the map pool is that Lev's permaban is Fracture and Furia are not good on Fracture. That's just an irrelevant ban in this series. I also don't... I think with Leviathan's fundamentals being pretty poor in the last couple weeks, I think the punish to Furia most often are Dijazine and MW over pushes. They get way too ahead of themselves. They outpace their own utility on hits. And I don't think that Lev are good enough right now to punish a lot of those mistakes from Furia. I think the crucial thing for Furia in this is going to be if they're playing these double duelist maps, they have to be more proactive on defense. They just instill no fear in the attackers because they just don't particularly do much with those comps. If their defensive halves are poor, Leviathan could win there, but overall, I have to go with Furia here. I think the maps favor them, and I think that Leviathan aren't going to be in a state to punish their fundamental errors right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the map pool will end up shaking out in Furia's favor for it, despite the fact that I literally just called them a fraudulent team at the beginning of the
I mean, I think both
podcast.
these teams have been fraudulent in the last 2 weeks. I don't think that's unreasonable. But yeah, with the map pool, I think it's reasonable to pred Furia. So let's lock that one in.
Yeah, let's go for that.
And I think this Loud Furia one is a pretty easy pred. Loud does not lose.
You don't want to do the
Brazilian
upper
teams.
round one first?
We already are talking
No,
about the
I mean,
Brazilian
is
teams.
anyone going... No, I'm going to
Is
be...
anyone going
just...
to cope for Furia here?
Oh, yeah,
Furia
that's
is
so
about to be
fine.
I go
Lil
with
Bro
Loud.
in that game.
Yeah, that's
so.
so easy.
Loud, I think, in their second to last game in playoffs, they didn't want to show anything new against who was it that they lost against Gen.G. They were just playing their same comps, the same setups every time. They didn't really have a reason to win that game. I think because they knew they'd play Gen.G again, and I reckon they. Oh, there goes my camera. But I also think in the game after that one versus who did they just play? It was Leviathan, actually. They showed some really cool setups, like their Viper setups are super variable on Haven. They had some new stuff there. The lurk timings they were finding were incredible. Their Ascent as well. I mean, honestly, I think at that point they stopped trying to show much and just skill diff them with everyone harvesting.
You know,
I
it's
think they're gonna
always
go
these
crazy in
matches.
playoffs.
If this ends up happening, if this match ends up happening with Furia Loud, it's always these ones that we brush over, by the way, that are the upsets.
Yes.
I hope you realize that. That's just a commonality.
Except it's Loud, so it's
it
not
always
happen.
works out like this, by the way.
No, it's not happening. Loud doesn't lose to Brazil.
Okay, well, yeah, Loud win. All right, moving on.
Anyone else have any take on that one?
No.
I'm on board.
No.
All right, let's talk NRG EG then. This is a rematch from a game that just happened last week, and NRG dumpstered them last time.
Yeah, I think the same might occur here because, again, I saw glimpses of EG with really good ideas against what to do against NRG's bind of what they've shown of it, and then they just got fucking pummeled because they're like, "You ain't that guy, little bro. I'm that guy. Listen, don't try and counter-strap me. We've been doing this before you've been born, EG. Don't even come step to man. Don't even come step to us." And so I think NRG are just gonna, again, just win this one, unfortunately for EG. I think EG are looking really improved. But there's also the factor that they've been playing with Team 1, having so much success with this guy, and he's not going to be able to make Tokyo regardless.
Is that true?
He reconfirmed it recently.
He did?
Yeah.
That sucks, man.
It's really sad, actually. And I think that does do quite a bit as well. I mean, so even if you can brush that off and be like, well, I will try my hardest here, there's still that element of man, even if we win, what's the point? I don't know. I can't even.
I don't feel like that's going to be
having an existential crisis.
Kurt, can you pull up the clip that Com posted of their reaction when they made playoffs? It should be his most recent tweet. It meant a lot for these guys to make it. And if we remember, the last time that there were some really emotional tweets from all these players about being able to make it in. It's clear that this means a ton to them. And if we remember, the first big win for EG to get them on the map was upsetting Optic in Stage 2. It has happened before. It's not unprecedented. And I think if there's one thing that EG has proved is they've learned a lot from their losses. And I mean, let's just watch this quick. I don't know if the viewers
There's
have
no
sound, 'cause
audio.
we don't.
There's no audio.
Then this clip doesn't mean much. All good.
Well, I didn't know what it was.
Oh,
it must
all good.
be it must be pretty cool for them though in terms of I don't know, they've already gone through the fall of probably not making it to playoffs because I imagine they didn't think that MIBR were going to be 100 Thieves. So they must have already been like on the page, like, well, it's already done. So now they're just going to play with nothing to lose. So that's like a huge buff for me. I think they're going to play with nothing to lose. I think that means they'll make it closer, but NRG is still going to win this. That's pretty much where I'm at. Like, I think they'll play like ballsy, and I think it's going to help them. But yeah, I just can't see NRG just look too good. They're playing proper comps now. It feels like they're showing everything. Yeah.
And he is going to shave his head. I think we got confirmation that he's going to do it on the broadcast too, which is very exciting. So make sure you watch America's this week, because we're going to have him. We're going to shave him, which is very fun. But yeah, I mean, it means a lot for them to make it. I think they've proved that they're good at like counter-stratting, coming up with ideas. In that game versus NRG, they had some cool gimmicks like the util combo through the window for their bind B retakes, kind of getting weird to counter the harbor walls with like having Jojimo top truck. There was ideas, but I don't think it's going to be enough against NRG.
They're like the kings of banging out the better teams on one map, but again, in terms of having that good anti, you in the space that they've had from finding out, like in such a short time,
it's
they don't
days,
have.
Man, that's so hard.
You can't. It's not going to be good enough. They might have one map that's like heavy prepped and it will be close, maybe a win. But in terms of two maps going together, I just can't see it. I'll be down for it, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, well, let's talk Cloud9 NRG. This one, I think, will be a hyper banger.
Yeah,
Cloud9 beat NRG last
good.
time, but I think NRG have even gotten way better from that series loss.
And this is a big question for me now as we're looking at Cloud9 is, I'm not going to say, is the honeymoon phase over? Because at this point, they've dispelled that, right? They've looked consistently pretty good. But there was that bit of doubt now creeping into my mind off the back of that crew game. Just from the way they were playing. And yeah, they brought it back. Yeah. Okay, they brought it back. A ridiculous comeback on Lotus.
We heard it in the interview. Like, they were just like, oh, we were trying to ego them and overfight and doing a little trolling map one and just got our shit together the next few maps. And I don't disagree with that. I think that's
dangerous, no? Like,
no, this game didn't matter for them.
But not a lot of teams can just switch like that and immediately turn it back on and go like full throttle again. Maybe this team can. They're filled with fucking joy and whimsy just from listening to the comms. Like Zelsis is double gripping, getting fine left, right, and center. So like, who knows? They're filled with all sorts of whimsy. But yeah, I don't. Maybe they can just flip the switch and then immediately turn it back on again now for playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's a fraudulent narrative. I'm going to be honest.
Okay, but it is a doubt at the back of my mind, and I think the recent form that NRG have showcased leans me to. I would lean towards NRG. I think winning this.
Yeah, I'm on board with that as well. I think C9 have had a good run. They've had a good run, but I can't see it continuing. Like I really like this team. They're one of the most fun to watch. They have like new stuff. It's really fun to watch. Like they're together. They have crazy players, but eventually this has to come crashing down. And I think this is time. I just think NRG are too good. I just think they're on form.
Yeah.
I just think they're just looking unbelievable.
I concur. I think NRG are looking unstoppable, but I think saying crashing down, I disagree with that. I think that Cloud9 they haven't had that big loss yet since Loud, but I think even like that one time that they did have that loss versus Loud, you could see the improvement and like the immediate learnings from that one and the improvement to come back through. This one is so close. I really want to predict Cloud9, but I think that NRG's form, their mid-rounding, their counter-setting has been so good. And Cloud9, they've shown a lot of ideas. They were like trying out that breach comp that had like some interesting stuff. I think that was just like a Cupert 999 comp, if I've ever seen one. Because I think he was playing that back in Europe when he was competing, a similar one with Breach on Ascent. Like there were some ideas there. They were trying to cook some stuff up. But besides that one, their ideas have always been really sound. Their Viper comp, I think, is absolutely excellent on Ascent. That's a map where I would likely favor them over NRG. Their Pearl's really good. I mean, they could go back to like that double flash comp as like the exploitative anti-Harbor Viper stuff, which I actually think would be pretty sick. I don't know. I almost feel like they're going to come out with some new ideas because they have more time to prep than other teams. They have, 4 days, I think, to prepare for this compared to a lot of teams with just 2. But, yeah, I still think it's more reasonable to side with NRG here.
I think NRG are fucking goated, and they're gonna just win every game in this bracket. including this one. I think they're going to have a good map pool. They're probably going to ban out Lotus. I think no matter what the maps shake out to be, I think they're just going to be really good for NRG. Haven's probably going to be in there, which might be a toss-up. C9 looked really strong on that map too. But I'm not really sure where Cloud9 take the ban here. They've been banning Pearl recently. That was a map they beat NRG on previously, but that was also early season NRG where they had Artis on Raze on Pearl. And I could definitely see them switching that up and having a bit of a different game plan now. So do you really want to play that again? You haven't seen what NRG are necessarily doing on that fully on that map as of late. If they ban that, Bind is going to get through. NRG are so fucking good on that map. I just think the pool is going to shake out great for NRG. They're so hard to prep for right now. They look insane. I'm just NRG all the way in this whole bracket. So going with them here.
All right, well, I'm ready for this one to get clipped by the fucking Cloud9 social media team when they win this one. But yeah, the better choice is to predict NRG. It's gonna happen. They're gonna win this game, but we should still predict NRG. Okay, let's go to the lower bracket. FURIA, EG. I think EG's gotta win that one, man. FURIA, again, everything we were discussing about them looking really rough, looking like fraudsters. EG has had some good ideas, have proved the ability to counter teams that have been better than them and punch up. I think losing this game, like you say, the buff of like not having much to lose, not having super high expectations on them. They already hit the goal of being top 6. They're going to be fired up to try and win this game, and I think they're going to win it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with it's literally the day after, right? Is it the day after, or do they have 2 days?
No, it's 2 days.
It's 2 days, yeah.
The lower round 1 is on
the upper bracket plays twice.
Okay, I'm still gonna say that's not enough time, and FURIA should beat them. That's where I'm at. I just think map wise.
This fucking camera.
I just think map wise, it's a little bit better.
You think FURIA's gonna win?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards that as well. No disrespect to EG as well, because I think they're looking quite good recently, but I'm scared of. Do you remember when? Was it like last year challenges when EG?
You're thinking of LCQ when they had like the or you're thinking of stage 2 when they had the crazy run in groups and beat Optic and looked insane, and then
faltered.
Yeah, and then they lost to Optic
playoffs.
the second time in OT, got stomped, or not in OT, in playoffs, got stomped, and went down to the lower bracket, lost to FaZe, and then FaZe started their like miracle run.
Yeah, I mean maybe that was unlucky. Maybe I'm just literally living in the past with that, but I'm just worried that might happen again. But again, that's experience that they could learn off as well. Maybe the core of that EG squad now won't be.
I just think they've learned so much throughout this season. Like every loss, it seems like they come back with new ideas and get better. Like they went from being the funny team to being a team where like when I thought they weren't going to make playoffs, I was honestly kind of pissed because I felt like they had shown better form than FURIA and Lev in the last few weeks.
So much of their map wins, I feel like, though, these days comes down to them having a really good idea on what a team's going to run. And maybe they can do it, but again, it's like Sluggy said, there's 2 days to prep that. It's a very tight turnaround if you're going to be relying on that for a win against a lot of your opponents.
But the thing is, I think they've also been able to punish teams who have been scrappier, who have been looser. And that's what FURIA was playing like in the last few weeks. I don't know if that'll continue into playoffs, but like they dominated Sentinels when they had switched to a 10s roster and were looking like scrappy and loose. It seems like they had really good ideas to like even just shut down teams that are more like individual heavy and have players like Digizin that are going to just be fucking sprinting at you sometimes. I'm still on the side of like hoping for EG here. I think 2 days is like, it's not a huge amount of time, but I feel like it's reasonable.
Wyatt is the decider, right?
Yeah, Wyatt's quiet right now.
Yeah.
I'm pondering.
You have the fate of a team in your hands.
I do think this is a really tough one, and I do think the time that FURIA is going to have is a significant factor for them. The trouble I'm having is I think EG get a free map win in this series, no matter what. FURIA are banning Lotus. They're willing to play Fracture, which EG are happy to play, and FURIA's Fracture just does not look good enough. And if they ban that, EG smoked MIBR on Lotus. I am not confident in FURIA being able to turn around that map in a short period of time to compete with EG there. But I think no matter what, EG are getting one map and then
That's the EG classic.
the other two should be competitive.
So Furia.
I'm stuck.
If they're only getting one map, they're losing.
Well, no. It's not that they're only getting one map.
Oh,
It's
you
that
think they
they're
are
getting
guaranteed?
they're getting a guarantee. I think they're getting a free map no matter what.
Okay.
And then the other two are competitive.
Okay. Do Cloud9 live while we think about it?
No, decide Wyatt.
Oh, that's brutal.
Demon One is going to have the balls
Furia.
off.
I'm going Furia.
All right.
I'm going Furia.
No, the ball. Dude.
I'm going Furia.
Bruh.
I'm going Furia.
Furia it is.
I hate this bracket already. I already
I'm
hate
going
this
with,
bracket so much.
I'm going with Cloud9.
There's only one pick that you didn't like.
There's two.
Oh.
I'm going with
Really?
Cloud9.
Well, there's one. I don't know how to. I still don't know how to think about NRG.
Anyone else going
Also
with
left
Cloud9?
Furia.
I mean,
Yes,
this is
just
no matter
yes.
who's here. NRG, Cloud9, it should be a 2-0.
Simply
yes,
Cloud9 will destroy
Cloud9,
them.
yes.
Move on.
Yeah.
All right.
But you think Cloud9 just...
Yes, Cloud9 are going to dump.
Do you think it will be the longest and most boring 2-0 in your entire life to watch?
Yes. Yes. It
I
will
hope
be.
not.
Nah.
If this match happens, then it's going to be really good off the back of that.
Let's see.
Hopefully,
It
because
will.
God, Leviathan's the most boring team I've watched in years.
It's because they're saving.
I
all the
hope they
time.
lose.
It's this.
Get them out.
Dude, we
Change
just...
something or get them
I
out. They're
laughed so
so
hard I broke
boring.
the
I have
camera.
nothing
We have
against the
just-
players or the whatever, but just don't be so boring. God.
Okay. Moving on. Cloud9 Furia. Surely Cloud9 just wins this
Yeah,
as well.
Cloud9 win that, I think.
it's C9.
That's they've just looked so consistently good.
Okay, let's go upper bracket. The fucking GIGABANGER. The
Rematch.
the El Clasico match. Loud NRG, the Loud Optic. It's the one that always gets played. Right now, these teams are like perfectly even. In maps, I think they're 1 round apart in terms of win-loss across history. Like, it is crazy how close they are. And they're both will already be in Tokyo at this point in our bracket, but they're playing for seeding. Because if you are the first seed out of your region, I think you do get a bye in Tokyo, I want to say.
don't
I'm
know
not
how
actually
it
sure.
works.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm just making that up. But that's how it's worked in the past.
You get some
That's
form
what
of
I was
advantage.
guessing at. Yeah, we're just guessing at the moment, but that's
I mean,
kind of what
12
I'm
team in the
thinking.
past, they've done like 4 teams or like 8 teams and then 4 get a bye.
Yeah,
So,
two groups of 4.
yeah.
That's what I was guessing with today. There's 2 groups of 4 and then a bye. So maybe that. Who has?
means
It's crazy.
something.
It's crazy that the teams don't know what they're playing for. Like,
Yeah, we're
you
having
first-
I
this
mean,
problem
maybe
like
the teams do know,
2021.
but it's not publicized. I don't know.
I mean, maybe, but I'll be honest. Normally I find
Normally
out
it will
about
be
this kind of
leaked if that
stuff.
happens, yeah.
Normally I'll find out about this stuff, but I'm pretty sure the teams don't even know what they get for fast, which is kind of crazy. Loud, and I have no idea. This feels like it can go either way.
It
Like maybe
I
recency
feel like this
bias.
is
so I'm
literally
gonna
just
go,
like flip a coin.
Yeah, I'm down to flip a coin for this.
I think we should actually just
Really,
flip a coin.
I am so NRG pilled in this bracket.
I don't think Loud will lose
I'm
twice in
just
a row.
all the way on energy.
I'm
Do you
also
still
all in on
wanna
energy.
Do you still want to
Can we
flip
flip a coin?
though?
Can we flip a coin
Just
and
for
just like
fun?
see what
Two
it
of us
thinks?
are like pretty
Just
certain
for
on NRG,
fun.
and you want to flip
And 2
a
of us
coin.
want a coin. 2 of us want a coin. The coin
Yeah,
will
that's
decide
all
me
right.
and Flip.
It's a
We'll-
tie
yeah,
then.
we'll go for Loud. So
Okay,
far.
I'll
Okay.
switch to the team coin.
All right.
Or
pull
yeah,
it
if you
up,
both
Kurt.
go, or if you both pick Loud, we have to do a coin either way.
Okay,
Oh wait,
so
I have a physical coin.
okay, that's
All right,
way
but
better than
I
this.
don't trust that. You're gonna rig it.
No,
What
I'm
is the
not gonna
coin?
rig it.
What is that?
It's the
Rigged
dongle
coin.
for my mouse. The final
There's
mouse.
no way
Rigged.
that's balanced.
It is balanced. The final mouse side is
telling me
what
that's-
team? What team do you want the final mouse side?
There's
Wait,
no
You have a
way
tens
that's
mouse
balanced.
too?
Yeah, I do have a tens mouse.
Hell yeah.
Okay, someone pick this side. What side is this? What team?
Loud.
Loud? Okay, the feet are NRG.
Hold on. I'm gonna pick up mine. It might be
Wait.
weighted.
It's absolutely weighted.
Wait,
Wait,
we're
it's
doing
It's not a
it.
fucking
Yeah.
coin.
Do
What
not
are we
question
doing
the coin.
here? It's
There's a,
not a
lot
fucking
of, there's a
coin.
lot of weight on the
Oh,
bottom
that's
of
the
this.
final mouse side.
What is that?
So what does
So
that
what's the
mean?
final
That's
match
the
side? What does
final
that
That
mean?
means
match.
loud
I don't
wins.
Loud.
Yeah, because it's
We're
weighted.
predicting loud.
It's
not weighted.
weighted.
We're
Yes,
okay.
it is. I
Best
have
2 out of
one,
3.
Mimi. I
Best
have-
2 out of 3. Best 2 out of
But
3.
it's still using the weighted.
What is
thing.
this? What is this?
They're
I
still
have
using the
Plat
weighted
mouse.
coin for it.
Okay,
Best 2
then
out
we
of
will.
3.
All right, we are changing the sides for them. Now, feet are loud, head is NRG. Let's see if it's rigged or not.
Okay.
It fell on the floor.
No
Wait,
one
it
can
fell
see.
on the floor on the upper side again.
It's weighted.
Where did the coin go?
What? Just pick loud. It's fine. Just pick loud.
Just
It's
pick
fine.
loud.
Flip the normal.
Yeah,
Also, what are you
just-
doing? What is
okay.
that
You can't use
beverage
the
you have,
weighted
Mimi?
coin.
It's tea.
Oh, okay. I was just questioning. I just never seen that label before.
What is going on?
Okay, loud wins.
We need
Pick
an
loud.
actual
Why? You
coin.
just flip that over with your hand.
Well,
No, loud wins.
I'm making an executive call that we're picking loud and
We're
moving
picking
on.
loud, move on. We're picking loud, move
We've
on.
been trolled.
Okay, sure. That doesn't matter anyway. Fraudulent.
Yes, it does. Shut up.
No, it doesn't. They're already
It's
in
not
Tokyo. They don't
fraudulent.
care.
Yes, they. Oh my god, this fucking guy. Okay, lower final. Energy Cloud9 rematch.
NRG.
NRG. They don't lose rematches.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll leave
Dude,
him energy.
Furia being top 4 feels so fraudulent. I don't think that's real.
But it is.
Oh.
I mean, they only have to win one game.
Yeah, I guess.
It is
Okay.
very real. The
Energy, and I think Energy
You wanna
wins the
flip a coin
rematch.
again?
No. Energy doesn't lose rematches.
Yeah.
Energy
that's
are
true.
winning.
It just goes up and down.
Yep.
Yep, they don't lose
So
rematches.
okay,
There's a
well,
chance
what a
for
great
one.
pick
so
and
much
bracket.
time discussing Leviathan Fury, and then we flip a coin
Yeah.
for the
No,
upper final.
I don't like the beginning of the bracket, but I'm fine with the way this ends.
Christ.
I'm fine with the way this ends. Thumbs up. I love it.
Really?
That's good. That's good. I like that.
Uh-huh.
Give an
Okay.
hour to Leviathan only for them to go out 0-2. Just so
Okay.
stupid.
That's the end of Americas.
end of the Americas
We have to
pick'ems.
make money. Do you know
I
what
have
I
a service
love?
announcement to make
Manscaped.
here.
I have to
Absolutely.
leave for a moment
Well, it's time
while you do the
for
ad.
Manscaped as well. Guess what? Family, friends, loved ones. I bet you haven't purchased the Father's Day gift yet, have you? I'm calling you out. When's Father's Day in America? Don't know, but it's coming up soon, apparently. Not to fear, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming are here. I'm talking about our friends at Manscaped. They're saving the day yet again with the total package for the father figure in your life this year, and it's time to upgrade his game from waist to face with this exclusive offer. Have him join 8 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get 20% off plus free shipping with the code VELOCHAT20 at manscaped.com. And it means we can keep doing a podcast and supporting us. That'll be cool. Thank you. You want me to talk about a package? I'll talk about a package. The voices in my head here. Let's start with the Ultimate Father's Day MVP, the Performance Package 4.0. Inside this package, you'll find a signature Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the brand new Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer, the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, the Crop Reviver Toner, the Performance Boxer Briefs, and a travel bag to hold all the goodies. And we can't forget about the moneymaker. Manscaped has absolutely changed the game with the new Beard Hedger Pro Kit for fathers around the world, including the Beard Hedger Trimmer, the Beard Shampoo and Conditioner, the Beard Oil, the Beard Balm, and the 2 free gifts with their signature beard comb and scissors. And now we know dads love their comfort. If his grooming routine is already dialed in, make sure to hook him up with the Manscaped Boxers 2.0. What's new in the 2.0 version? They're just so much fucking better. Just trust me on this one. These are without a doubt the best boxers for men of all ages. So whether he's mowing the lawn, taking out the trash, golfing in the sun, fishing with a couple of brewskis on a lazy boy, whatever else dad activities are, who knows? Saturday night poker, he's got permission from the wife. God knows what else. I don't know what dads do. Make sure you get him the moisture wicking boxers that breathe without breaking a sweat. Code Plat ValoChat20. Don't type it in. Get your order now. Purchase it. Support the podcast and buy products.
Do that. Get 20% off plus free shipping with code ValoChat20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com.
That's crazy.
And use code ValoChat20. Make this Father's Day one he won't forget with Manscaped. TM ValoChat20 manscaped.com. Money. Give it to us and to Manscaped to give them us money.
Yep.
Yep. Do it. ValoChat20 manscaped.com.
Can we shave
We
Demon
did it.
One's head with a Manscaped buzzer?
Oh, surely that's the one. Yeah, that's how you do it.
I think so.
That's
Okay,
how-
are
yeah, that's how you do
we
it.
taking a break?
We
Let's
should take a break.
quick
It's been a while.
Let's
Let's
take a
all
break.
use the little restroom.
A quick break to go to manscaped.com and use code VALOCHAT20 to skate your man.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
y'all.
Yeah, so
Everybody
one
take a
sec.
potty break.
Water
We'll be
time.
right back. I'm gonna put on some nice music if I can figure out how to use music. What's your favorite song, Chad? Oh, we got this banger bookmarked. We're listening to it. You already know. All right, I have to use the restroom as well, so enjoy this music. Stretch your legs, get some snackies. We'll be right back in a few minutes.
It's a certified hood classic.
Nothing like some water. We're gonna give people a few minutes to get back here, so we'll just leave the actually, you know what, I'll start another countdown. People are using the restroom, so give them some more time. We're all very busy here in the Plat Chat compound. It's water. Oh yeah, when we get back, we'll be doing the EMEA Pick'ems! Yippee! We're not doing Pacific today because we already did it last week, and also, if you want to watch Pacific, the games will be starting, I believe, tonight, super late at night, Pacific time. So you can watch that. Who's my favorite team to watch? Favorite team to watch is definitely Cloud9. I don't really have a favorite team. And thank you all for becoming members in these hard times. It's a little bit difficult to, you know, make revenue. So the memberships help a lot. All right, looks like we have Mimi, Wyatt, and Sliggy back. We're waiting on Bren, then we can start.
Yippee!
Oh yeah, I know they already started Pacific, but I meant like the games are resuming. And of course, when Pacific concludes, we'll do a recap and all that stuff. And this song is just on repeat, huh? Oh yeah, it's because I have the 1 hour Kevin McLeod Carefree video on. Got it.
Dude, this song goes hard, I'm not gonna lie.
I'm gonna turn it down a bit. Right. We'll go back to the wide shot. We can wait a little bit longer, but it's more interesting looking at you guys than the countdown.
Dude, I'm sitting like XQC. What the fuck am I doing?
Hey, Brun's back.
It's not good for you. Shouldn't be sitting like that. That's how I used to sit. Imagine this, but I used to sit pretty much like that for just every single game I played. But it would be both knees. It would be like I would sit on one other foot, and then one. Yeah, kind of like the one's tucked underneath you, and then one's like that.
Fucking falling off. I can see it.
I just sat like this for so long. And like I
You
saw
when
an
I'm watching
osteopath.
100 Thieves versus him on VR. Just
Yep.
fetal position.
Just like me for real.
Yeah, it's not good for you. Don't do it, everyone. It's really
Alright,
not good.
I'm gonna sit like
You
this
pay
for
for
the
it.
rest of the episode.
This is the only reason I have a standing desk. Got to move around. My osteopath's on my back, and he was like, "Mate," he was like, "What have you done?" just years of gaming and sitting like an idiot, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the everyone's favorite region: Europe, Middle East, North Africa playoffs. Pick'ems. We're gonna do them. Let's pull them up. Sliggy, you're the resident EMEA expert in the building. We have some playoffs now. The last week of games didn't really mean much for the playoffs. I think besides seeding, everything was pretty much locked fairly early for EMEA. But now we actually have the playoff bracket in front of us to look at.
Yeah, so it was pretty much between. There was a chance like last game was BBL foot, and it kind of came down to if BBL win, they go through. If Vitality win, then they go through. And BBL just didn't look good. And there was like they had they both had watch parties that had like combined 5,000 people at them, and then there was like a delay for like an hour and a half. So they're all just there, just like trying to fill with some live action, just trying to like entertain 5,000 people that had gone to these watch parties. It looked well awkward. But yeah, it's a bit of a brutal game. BBL just doesn't look good at PAL. And so they got boomed out on PAL. They basically just this is the one team that look incredible or really bad dependent on the map. It's just it came back to bite them in this one. If Ascent's in the pool, they're going to win it. They'll beat every single team. They look like the best in the world at it. Yep. And then they started to get some other maps, but honestly, just kind of didn't make it this time. Looked a little bit nervous. So Vitality are through.
Yeah, their Pearl this season has been insanity.
Oh man,
they switched to the regular comp in that game, I think, right, against Foot, but yeah, then previously they were running the like 5 agents with Molly's strat, just have like 90 lineups. It was so
it's pain. Mate, I can't. So I hate watching. Mate, first of all, I hate watching PAL. But I don't know what I prefer. I think I prefer watching teams that don't know how to play Pearl because then you don't see like the big spam fest. But then you're also watching them like, man, you don't understand how to play this map. And then you watch the teams that understand it and they're just getting blocked off and they're like spamming and there's Morleys flying in and it's just like, what the hell's going on? So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of teams that kind of crumbled midway through in the EMEA season that are no longer here, and they're all literally just waiting for the roster lock to end. That's pretty much where most of the teams that didn't make it to playoffs seem to be. But yeah, other than that, playoffs should be interesting because it feels like Na'Vi Fnatic are decent, and then everyone else is.
Yeah, it's made interesting because of the extra slot in Tokyo. Because I think it's quite top heavy with Fnatic and Na'Vi. I think they're just expected to make it no matter what, like winning their upper semis games. But it's like quite competitive in the middle of the pack, where you could make many arguments for lots of different teams making it in that 3 and 4 spot, which is what we're about to do.
Whoa! Well, let's do that. Let's start with Giants Foot. I think those are two teams that were kind of had moments that really impressed people. Foot in particular, I think showed some cool stuff. Really like their Lotus still. I think Kiwi is God's gift to Valorant and also Neon. but Giants as well. I mean, it felt like a team with like some weird like inconsistencies, because at one point they're like, oh, playing a really close game against Navi, looking good. Oh, we're beating Foot 2-0 last time these two guys played. And then it's also just like the tragedy that was the Heretics game. So I kind of am still in a weird place of where I actually rate this team.
Yeah, it's hard to work it out. They have very high highs and very low lows. I think like mentally they get boomed out really fast. Like they played Heretics and it was the first time their assistant coach Weber was standing in, and you could just tell that they thought like they were going to win, and then he just started like one tapping them all, and then you could just see it on their face. They're just like, what the hell is going on here? So yeah, I think this one's a hard. This is where like maybe you lot can chime in more, because this is the one game where I'm like, this is straight up 50-50, and I don't really know where it's going to go.
I'm the same as you. I feel like this is also a 50-50 because, I don't know, out of all the teams early on in the EMEA split, I felt like Giants showed the most like consistency and the best ideas on certain maps, and they just looked like they were rising above that middle of the pack. And Foot really surprised me actually as well with how they're playing, but I don't know. I really would pin this down to a coin flip. I can't.
Do we have to bring back the coin?
I'm not in total coin flip territory.
Okay.
Not a massive difference, but
Who do you lean towards?
I'm like 60-40 for Giants. I feel like in this split, Foot really cemented themselves as a gatekeeper team that struggled to put up a fight against the teams above them and consistently dealt with the teams below them. That was the case against Giants previously. If I remember correctly, didn't they do really well in Icebox? Because they were similar to Thieves. They were playing a ton of Icebox early on, and then it got rotated out. Yeah, which has been a problem for them later in the season as well. So I'm not a massive Giants favorite. I think Foot they have a lot of explosive potential. Don't need to go on about how good Kiwi has been, but I'm just slight edge to Giants, so I'm gonna pick Giants, but. I'm open to coin flipping or getting overruled.
I'm actually leaning more over towards Foot now that you reminded me about the map pool shit. Because I think Foot actually had a bit of a hard run of things, right, in the tail end of their games, because they ended up playing against Navi and Fnatic more recently, I believe.
Yeah, it was Fnatic, then they stomped K-Core, and then it was Navi, and then they stomped BBL.
Yeah, so they're hard winning the games where they're supposed to clear, but the last even matchup they ended up losing was against Giants, I think, and it was the biggest lead being their Icebox just wasn't up to scratch, and now it's not in the pool anymore. It was a big win for Giants in the past with how they were playing, and I think this will be a lot closer this time around, because Foot are a team that I felt like they just would not care. The pressure will just wash off them like a water on a duck in this kind of circumstances, because Turkish players, they always have confidence, man. It's just always there. Feels like it's never going missing. And at a captain, my captain, like, listen, when he gets fucking fired on all cylinders, when he's popping off, I feel like Foot might take this. Am I capping when I say that there's a map pool advantage here?
I think there is. I think losing Icebox is big. I think that Foot have a pretty good Pearl. Like, I think that was the map they played super close against Navi on. They just stomped BBL on it. Their Lotus with the Neon comp is pretty good. Turkish teams are always goats at Ascent. Like, I feel like I do edge Foot out slightly here. Like, I think throughout the season, like, they're the team to me that has shown like more like consistent ability to like just beat the teams that they should. Yeah. And they lose to the teams like Navi and Fnatic, as everyone else does. But besides that loss to Giants, every other game was very respectable. They almost beat Liquid. They beat Vitality. They beat Koi. They beat Heretics, all in pretty dominant fashion. Like, I'm just kind of a Foot believer. And also, this game doesn't really matter because you play Fnatic and you're going to go to lower round one either way. Like,
well, it does matter because there's one extra spot. So the deeper you go, the better.
But it doesn't. You're in lower round one either way. It's just like, it's basically a seeding game for the lower bracket because you're going to.
But the further you get,
yeah, but you go to lower round one either way, just as high seed or low seed, because of the way this works with the buys.
Oh.
Yeah. It just depends what side you're playing, right? Yeah. It would just change.
So basically, this game only chooses if you win this, you play Vitality. If you lose this, you play Liquid in the lower bracket, basically.
Damn.
Unless Vitality upsets Liquid.
I think as well though when
Or
Foot played
Liquid upsets Navi.
I think when Foot played Liquid close, Liquid have improved a significant amount since then. It was really early on in the split. It was like week 2. So factoring that in as well. I'm still with Giants. What are you guys going with?
I think we have 2 Foot fans, so it's up to you to decide.
I'm gonna
So
side with.
you're a fan of feet? Or
I'm
foot,
gonna
I
side
mean?
with Giants. I'm gonna side with Giants, and,
Okay.
and we do.
So
the
we're
coin.
split.
coin
So let's
flip
pull out the
time.
coin. Pull out the coin, Kurt.
It's not a coin. Oh wait, okay.
It is a
the
coin. We're
virtual
2 to
one.
2.
We're
Virtual
doing,
one.
yeah, we're not
We're not
doing
doing
the
the way it goes.
fraudulent
God.
coin this time.
The real coin, not the
All right.
fraudulent coin.
Who's heads, who's tails?
Heads for feet. Wait, no, tails. Feet are tails.
Okay.
Boom.
Let's go.
Let's
Feet
go.
The
Foot.
feet win.
Foot esports.
Foot esports.
And then
Okay.
just click on
Gaming.
Fnatic.
Yeah, just click on Fnatic. Don't need to talk about it.
I
They're
mean, it's
fucking good.
just, It's just
No,
there you
I
go.
wouldn't just click on Navi. Don't click on Navi.
Wait,
No, no,
you're
no, no, no.
wait, there's no way.
I have
Really?
some liquid cope. Honestly. They would have beaten Navi in that game if they had their full team.
Safe.
If they didn't have a sub. If
Yeah.
they had Safe in,
Yeah.
they win. Safe is God's gift to Valorant. He's
Safe is
fucking
very
every time I
good.
watch this guy, it's absurd the shit he is doing. His neon is fucking incredible. I'm a massive Safe fan. And Liquid, I think, have just gotten so much better throughout this
Yeah,
EMEA
they have.
season. They've just gotten better every single second best rated player in the league right now, by the way.
Okay.
And that's even with the crazy stats from this week, where he's playing like Breach and supporting Redgar, who's Reyna, and, and the madness that was going on in that game. So that's even with like he was fast until this game, and they decided to do a madness and put
silly.
him on Killjoy and Breach. Yeah, I mean at least for the Liquid Vitality, I have Liquid, but I actually think this might be a little bit close in terms of the map pool. I think the Liquid's map pool's a bit rough from what I've seen. I hate that Lotus so much, man. I hate teams who don't play Killjoy on Lotus. I can't stand it. And they don't play Killjoy on Lotus, and it just makes me lose my mind. Like they played a troll comp against Koi, and I actually genuinely preferred it to their actual comp. Like they're using Reyna and Jet, but because they have a Killjoy, I'm like, actually this isn't too bad.
Yeah.
This is actually the one. So yeah, I'm going for Liquid against Vitality, but there's a bit of me that thinks the map pool's okay for Vitality.
Vitality kind of been struggling as well a little bit.
Big
I don't
time.
know.
They look awful in
I
comparison
was-
to how thought out they were going to be.
I was so high up on that team in lock-in and heading into the start of the season as well, but I think the longer it's gone on, I don't know. They made the right adjustments in my mind by moving Bonecore back over to Smokes, even though he's said in the past he's way more comfortable calling from that initiator position, but it just made no sense at all to push Destrian off when he was looking so fucking good in that particular role as well, like making him play Smokes, even though he's been good on Smokes as well at times. But yeah, I think it's been so topsy-turvy, and the recent form of that team has just been so down, and Liquid's just been on the up and up. This should be a Liquid win. Should be.
I'm gonna hit you with the boring duelist head-to-head narrative, but I think heading into the year, Twiston was in excellent form, and I was very hyped about him heading into this split, and he has just had a really rough go of it. And on the opposite end, Safe has gone fucking
Yeah,
nuclear in
They
this
just
split.
nuts.
Like, I think they started in a relatively similar position, at least how you would rate them as a duelist coming into this year, and their trajectories have just been entirely opposite. I think Twiston has to have a serious return to form for them to be in this game, because yeah, I do think that's a significant factor. Rare duelist head-to-head actually really matters, in my opinion, and it's not just pure fluff.
True. Okay, let's move on then. If I think we're in agreement to go for Liquid here, to Navi Liquid.
Do the
Is
storylines.
anyone coping? Because
Battle of the
Navi has been
Brothers.
doing so
Doom
much
Bros
trolling.
versus Emil.
I don't know if this is cope, but I'm gonna go with Navi because I hope they just stop trolling. I don't know if that's
But that's the
cope,
fucking thing with
but I
Navi. We're
think-
always like, they're gonna stop trolling this week. Oh, it matters to Plats, they're gonna stop trolling. And then it's like, Yoru.
I
Every game.
think, yeah, but they don't typically they don't do that when it really matters. They have a tendency to be extremely experimental and then lean off what is not working for them. If I remember correctly, I think that's been typically the trajectory of that team.
Navi had a kind of team. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I mean, that's essentially my point. So
Na'Vi, the team, I know this for a fact that they treat their official match. They have so much confidence about themselves that they're going to be able to make themselves get to playoffs. That they treat their official matches as like scrim time sometimes, and they're willing to experiment and play new stuff. They're willing to try new stuff. They're willing to chop and change. It's not with the sole goal of throwing people off for preparation against them. It's literally just like they know the practice is better, and so they will throw out different ideas. But yeah, it's not. I wouldn't call it trolling because I don't think it's intentional from them to lose maps by playing weird shit. I think they just have sometimes just very odd ideas about
it's
what
just
they want to run.
experimental. It's pure. It's science.
Like the fact that
they're testing a theory.
When they were running no
against...
Sova on Icebox as well, and they were like using Cypher to like offset that as well. I was just like, holy shit! Like, oh, I mean. They were cooking. They were cooking at times, but
they use the meta comp running teams as a control group to run match time experiments against and see what's going on. Like I think when it comes down to fucking brass tacks, they're going to hit the CNED Jet button, and he's not going to be playing Yoru and bottom fragging. Like I think that's shit like that is going to go out the window. I don't think Angel's going to be playing Yoru on Split or whatever that was, like shit like that. I mean, that's going out the window. That's not gonna happen. So,
yeah,
I'm leaning Na'Vi.
Yeah, I think I am too. I'm just trying to work out if they're kind of doing like the NRG approach where they don't want to show their kind of real comps or whatever they feel super comfortable on, in my mind. And then it's like, do they do it now or do they wait that extra one? Do they think like, are they confident enough that they can qualify with like using some of this Yoru stuff, or are they actually gonna push the button?
I mean, what's fucked up is they might qualify with that if they do use
that's what I mean.
Yeah,
like, even if they go down to the lower, like, do we actually see them losing to Giants or like?
Bro, I swear these guys are saving strats for like Champions 2024. They're just like gonna play Yoru the whole year.
they're crazy though. They just let Angel do what he wants. Like he'll just come up with an idea, and it feels like, at least it feels like in the past, Doom Bros would go, nah mate, come on, like we can't be doing that. But it feels like for this split, after they got like 3 wins, they're like,
Doom Bros,
go on then, you do you.
He just looks perpetually stressed, like he's trying to get a hold on Angel at all times.
It reminds me of, this is a divergence, but fucking Paper Rex in APAC, they are going fucking insane. They're
It's
just
like Alex,
running it down
isn't it?
harder than they have before. And Alex just looks like he's like 1 game away from having a panic attack every time they play. The poor guy is under so much stress from these crazy comps. Like, Bren, when you tweeted about like, guys, maybe we're cooking with Harbor, and all the players on Paperworks immediately like, guys, we want to play this. Like,
We would have
guys.
just okay. Yeah, I was. I think it's a similar vein to that. The players are unruly, but mainly it's just Angel who's unruly. And like he's always listen. You can never keep your eye off him for too long. The power dynamic will just switch in the blink of an eye. If Doom Bros loses control for one moment, who knows what the fuck they're gonna play? They could be playing 5 controllers. There's enough of them in the game now.
Yeah.
I think they'll get silly, and I think there's a chance that Liquid upsets if they have safe back and they're playing super well. But I just want to believe that they're not going to play the silly and that they're just going to win this comp and
I think they'll take it seriously,
lock in Tokyo and then vibe.
But they're not. When we say silly, I don't think that's from a place of them
it's
trying
not
to
actually
say
silly. I mean,
strats.
like, their main
I think they
strats.
genuinely believe in their ideas. It's just that they also
Like,
are
they're not throwing. They're just playing things that are out there.
You don't think
they're
they're
kind of
gonna? You don't think they're gonna be playing Yoru on Masters,
Split?
right?
No, I don't think so.
on Fracture.
Maybe on Fracture.
For some reason, that is like Angel's white whale. He's like hunting down the way to make fucking Yoru work on Fracture. Throughout his entire life, he has been trying to make Yoru work on Fracture. Through like whatever roster iteration he's been on, they have tried that so many times. And he's just enamored with the idea that you can fast rotate with a teleport, I think. And then that's just like the whole concept he wants to build it around. But the Na'Vi, the fact is, they are good enough where they can get wins and not get punished for running some unusual stuff. And it tests teams. Like, usually the idea is, it's not like they're not fleshed out. They usually have some semblance of thought behind them, where they've got, like, trap plays or, you know, something unusual that really does punch a team and force them to react quickly to it.
Yeah, it reminds me of like the Cloud9 Breach Ascent comp they ran this week, where it's like, it's fleshed out, it has some ideas. I don't think they're going to stick to it, but there's enough merit to like see why they'd run it in a game that doesn't really mean much to them, and they think they can just skill diff.
So we're leaning Na'Vi.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think we
I
should
think
just
so.
lock in the Na'Vi choice here. And I think we should just click Fnatic the rest of the way through.
Yeah, I would actually be okay with that.
All right, let's go down to the dungeon now. TL Giants. Any Giants believers in the chat?
That's actually kind of unlucky if it does shape out this way. The Giants run into Liquid here.
Yeah, that is quite unlucky, isn't it?
I don't want to say there's there's definitely not a tier gap. Well, I think there's a tier gap from the top 3 to the bottom 3, but I still favor Giants against the 2 other teams that they'd be competing with for the 4th slot. So that's kind of unlucky, but I mean I'm going with Liquid.
Yeah, I'm on board for Liquid here. I mean, I think it's going to be close. I can see a world where Giants can win, but it's just... I think sometimes the pressure looks like it gets to Giants and they get stressed out, like after looking at the Heretics game. Like they just look stressed and completely mentally out of it. I feel like if they lose one bad round, maybe the mental's gone. So Liquid just look too good for me at the moment. They're just on the up and up. So for me, it's them.
I agree.
Real. Okay. Foot Vitality. What are we making of this one?
I am leaning Foot. I think
Perhaps.
Vitality
still
just been slipping
Foot and
too much. Yeah, as much as I do love this
Yeah.
team and the potential that the players have, I just think it's a tight turnaround to try and right the ship now. And Foot they are not going to be letting off any of the confidence. They're still going to be taking aim duels. The fundamentals have always been a clear win con with this team in terms of how well they play off of each other. It's pretty rare to let that slip, and I think that's they're a good team, Foot. So I think that they've if this ends up working out like this, where they're ending up going against Vitality in this match here, where it's like really important, the lower round 1, because it makes you top 4. Yeah, I'm not going to say they're quite fortunate because I think Foot deserved to be there, but it's like the best outcome they could have hoped for.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
agree.
think that's fair.
Okay. Liquid Foot. I mean, I just instantly side with Liquid here. I think Liquid is, again, like above all the other teams in this lower bracket. This will be the 4 teams then in our bracket who will go. Fnatic,
Who will
Na'Vi,
go, yeah.
Liquid, and Foot. Before we talk more about this match, how do you guys feel? Do you think, is that the 4 teams that you think will go outside of just like looking at the bracket? Like in terms of power, is that the best 4 EMEA teams left that could make it?
It's actually, interestingly enough, I think it's going to be extremely dependent on Giants versus Foot. I think that
Yeah.
game is really going to shape out who makes it.
Yeah, I agree. You don't want to play Liquid, really. It feels
Yeah.
like after watching.
I mean, I
the
feel like
games.
Giants Foot is basically a qualification game, honestly.
Yeah, unless Liquid slip up, I agree.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's all dependent on that first game because you're either gonna play Liquid or Na'Vi depending on how the other game goes,
Yeah.
and then you're pretty much out. So yeah, I don't know. I think there's like you're saying, it's between Giants and Foot. I can't see a world where Vitality qualify really, unless they show something completely different to how they've looked, and it looks a bit more like. I don't know. I actually can't even think of a time when they've looked like as high as my expectations have been of them. So yeah, I guess maybe Giants could be sneaking in there, but it depends on the Foot game.
God, that's such an important upper round 1 then.
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
almighty.
And that's
It's
the
also
match
gonna
it starts
be-
with.
It's also gonna be a weird little internal fight because whoever goes 4th obviously has to go to last chance qualifier, the champions. Right?
Is that decided here and now? I thought it was decided based on placement at Tokyo.
Yeah, it's decided in Tokyo. So
Right.
that's what I'm saying.
God.
That'll be its own little internal fight, which is gonna be kind of sick.
Right.
Whoever
Yeah.
comes last.
Interesting. All right. Anyone gonna cope for Foot, or are we just locking into Liquid here?
No, I
I
think
think we
Foot
should
will
just
just
lock in
be.
Liquid.
Yeah, I think Foot will just be happy to have qualified and
Yep.
Foot off the pedal.
I concur. Okay. Rematch of Na'Vi Team Liquid. Is this where Na'Vi starts trolling again?
Yes. Liquid win that.
I'm
Absolutely
actually
Liquid win
I'm
that.
rolling with that.
I would say,
100% rolling.
I'm in for that.
Yeah, I'm down.
think
Liquid
Liquid
powered
win that.
up. They want to make it to a final. They want to get the good seeding. Navi's gonna pull up fucking Yoru on Bind. Well, actually, that's kind of based, but
Now,
Yoru on, I don't know, Ascent or something, and Troll.
Fnatic haven't really showcased too much of their map pool. This
They're
sounds
not
like a
losing to
weird
Liquid.
take.
But they're
Now,
still
hold on,
just
hold on,
so
hold
They're
on.
better.
not losing to Liquid.
They've been
Okay, you
dominating
go.
everybody, but the luxury of dominating most people in a 2-0 is that you don't reveal as much. And like 80% of their recent games, they've been playing Lotus in those 2 maps. So they've been showing half as many maps as all the rest of the teams.
That
Like, this
doesn't
is
mean
the
they don't. That doesn't mean they have half as
Yeah,
many maps.
and-
That just means they're better than everyone else.
yes, they're
and
better, but
gonna
it's like a
roll.
luxury of being able to be, dominant in that regard. But they've just only really showed like if you go through the recent matches of Fnatic, look at the amount of times they played Lotus recently.
Oh yeah, I mean they're smoking everybody on Lotus. They're smoking everyone on Haven. So no matter what, they're winning on Haven and Lotus in every series, no matter what. You ban one,
And-
you lose on the other.
You can just click on the score on that as well, and it will show it all on the same page. Kurt, here,
Lotus,
And
like
if they-
Haven,
Lotus,
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 Lotus
Yeah.
Ascent,
Lotus,
Haven, Bind.
Lotus. And it's like they've been playing other maps alongside Lotus in their 2-0 wins, but with how important the
Look how convincing these wins are, though.
it's crazy. Yeah, Fnatic.
Bren,
Okay,
you
I
are
was just
coping.
I was
Stop
I was
coping.
throwing a devil's advocate out. I was just trying to like say, okay, well maybe this could
Also,
happen.
If they
But-
come from upper bracket, they get double map ban. So they
Yeah,
can just
mate,
get rid
I
of they
mean,
can just
yeah.
give it a split and pearl.
It's
Yep.
this is a lot for Fnatic, and honestly as well, like wider storyline
The
points.
plus
They have been
101
they have been the
round
most
differential is
dominant
crazy.
team out of any region, and this is like ripe for the taking for them to win the first back-to-back trophy in Valorant history. It's so sick.
Especially
Mhm.
with the meta like staying pretty much the same.
Yep.
Like if anything, they got thrown at the deep end at lock-in against like the new meta that we hadn't seen before in the Harbor Sky Viper comp, and they managed to deal with that all right. So now with more practice, you'd honestly think that they're good for this, but we'll see.
Yeah, I
Alright.
mean, and it doesn't even need to really be said, but the talent depth on the team, I mean, Jesus Christ.
Oh,
The
it's insane.
top-rated player in EMEA is Alfear, just kind of out of nowhere. Like, that's just mental.
It's disgusting, isn't it? Just like one, it goes into like a 3-on-5, and you're like, oh, they can't win this one. But then you like look at the players' names that are left alive, and it's still like Chronicle, Durka, or Leo, and you're just like, well, they're probably actually going to win this somehow. And it's just
Yeah,
one
they're
person just take turns and getting 3Ks and stuff. It's just
Yeah, and it's
And
not
they
like
just-
the DRX just like shitting on their individual region of like Pacific feels very top heavy with DRX, and then they do a smidge of trolling every now and then and they make it close, and then the middle of the pack is like fighting over scraps. But I would say EMEA in terms of that middle of the pack and the top of the teams, they're more competitive with each other than that, and they're still dominant. They're still looking this
Yeah.
good. They're still putting up these numbers.
I think that's
It's
what's
crazy.
made like Loud and Fnatic so impressive to me is that like the middle of the pack in both Americas and EMEA are actually like super competitive and teams that could punch up and upset, and even more so than Loud. Loud has played every map super close. Fnatic have not really played a close series like ever. They're just stomping constantly, and they just look unstoppable. Let's pull up the bracket one more time. Are we confident in this? Because I feel pretty happy about this one. Like, these are kind of the 4 teams that I was looking at and like, yeah, probably. I think
So much
it really
much
does
of our
ride
top
on Giant's
4.
foot, though.
rides on Giant's foot, and we decided with a coin flip. So I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
like,
yeah,
who the
It's
fuck knows?
it's so boring, but I mean, I just have the top 4 teams from the season going through, which is boring as hell, but yeah, up around 1.
Yeah.
yeah, it's just on that game, and like that just feels like the closest game out of all of them. The Giants' foot. Like that's the one where I'm just like, who knows?
I'm content with this though.
All
yeah,
right.
I think this is decent.
Well, we have pick'emed EMEA, we have pick'emed Americas, which means it is time for Wyatt's Weekly Award.
Pacific viewers in shambles.
It's Wyatt's Weekly Award. You're a star.
What was that one?
What do you mean? Mimi's cam
Broken.
actually
Holy.
broke Mimi.
That was a funny.
Just
Guys,
obliterated Mimi, by the way.
I'm back.
No big deal.
Wyatt, you're finally here to give your award again.
Yeah,
Who are you awarding this to?
it's been a long time. I mean, this is an easy one. No more nepotism. It's it's going to user. I mean, also Jesus. It's going to user 3-inch daddy for compiling this absolutely in-depth statistical analysis of the Wyatt's
Holy.
Weekly Award, where we actually got exposed for our secession Roy family nepotism we have going on here at the Plat Chat compound. I mean,
Wyatt has won
me
it
and
4
Josh.
times.
I've
He's the
never
owner of
given
the
myself
award.
one. I've never given myself one, by the way. That's other people giving it to me. I thought tens was going to be higher.
It's
I feel
literally
like
all
I've
of
given
you
it a
lot.
tens like 20 times, honestly.
You gave it
So-
to Tenz's dog once, I remember, so that probably gets added.
I mean,
to
yeah,
him, too.
tens. Oh, yeah, tens dog.
You
I
gave it
think
to-
I gave it to
yeah.
Kaide and tens. Maybe that's why it's 2.5. I forget. But yeah, so this was pretty funny, and the effort that went into it is just
Crazy effort.
They made a
outrageous.
Sporkle quiz that we should absolutely do.
Let's do
20 questions, but let's go through the whole thing first.
it. Okay.
Okay, and yeah, the award winners by country. All the people that get mad that we only talk about NA
Are right.
proven
They're
correct.
right.
We don't talk about other regions.
Spot on.
We just don't talk about other regions at all.
We talked about South
But
Korea
all
once.
good.
Plat Chat
All
has won
good. I mean,
16 Wyatt's Weekly Awards.
insane. Sentinels getting propped up by tens. I mean, Lord, I gave 2 to Luminosity. I mean, that must have been like early
That was
2021,
like
I
episode
think,
1.
when they beat Sentinels in like the Nerd Street Monthly or whatever. That's
Oh,
like the
Nerd
biggest
Street Winter
tournament
Champs.
at the
They won
time.
versus Sen in
Yeah.
the finals. That was a classic.
Jesus. Yeah, so that's pretty
Nepotism
funny. I mean,
is
the
on the
nepotism-
rise.
By the way, what's very funny is that it got pointed out that Mimi is actually the problem. After Mimi's introduction to Plat Chat and being an official member, nepotism went up significantly. And also, if you remember, Bala did an analysis on our Preds and our, what do you call it? You know, the screenshot thing.
Yeah,
I forgot.
yeah.
The guarantee.
Guarantee.
And those are Preds. Nepotism up, Preds fucking down as soon as Mimi joined the show, by the way.
My bad, guys.
Just
My bad.
insanity. I mean, Mimi is actually just an HLTV confirmed CSGO sleeper agent that has joined the podcast to just boom us from the inside and take down Valorant. It's ridiculous.
Also, honorable
God.
mention to Willminder on Twitter, who also put together our record, which is pretty tragic, to be honest.
I mean, if you go by percentage, Mel's doing pretty well. Ender's actually killing it by
Ender, yeah,
percentage.
Ender's insane.
Just a casual 11-1. Not
Paul
bad.
is honestly pretty goated.
Yeah.
40 to 20. Josh
Yeah.
is
I mean,
40
Josh
to
is
22.
doing pretty well. Josh,
Yeah,
if
Josh is doing well.
for people that have a lot of rounds, it's like Victor has the highest first kill on Jet because he played 2 maps, but it's actually Leaf because he played like 1 million maps, even though it's lower, but it should be higher. You know what I mean? So Josh still wins out at the end of the day, I think.
Josh truly is the Leaf of Plat Chat.
Yep.
So 67 have been given out to Valorant players and coaches.
That's crazy. 40% were not to players or coaches. What percentage was to dogs? I feel like so many dogs have won the award.
Yeah, a few pets have definitely won the awards. A lot of kind of random folks in the community have definitely won them. But
All right, let's play the game.
We're not going
3
to
inches
use 20
daddy.
minutes, though. We're going to speed run this.
We're
We
gonna
got
speed
quick
run.
answers.
Quiz
Read the questions,
Play
quick
the quiz.
answers.
Okay.
yep, speedrun
Okay.
coming
Locked in.
through.
First question. Which of the following is not a reason for awarding the Wyatt's Weekly Award? Winning the WWE Royal Rumble, influencing the masses with a waffle crosshair, saving a crawfish, or
Wait,
winning
is
the game?
not a reason for awarding the award?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's the
it's
Royal
gotta
Rumble.
be. It's
It's the
gotta
Royal
be
Rumble.
It's
the
the
last
Royal
one.
Rumble.
Winning
No.
the Disc Golf World Championship. Was that an
No,
award?
that went to
yes,
Dust Murray.
That was an award.
No, Dust
I
won
said
because
I was
he gifted a sub.
no. I gave the disc golf world championship to the guy who won it. I think.
Oh,
Okay,
And some
okay.
Dust.
crazy twist.
I thought it was Dust
It's the
Murray.
Royal Rumble. It's the Royal
It's,
Rumble.
it's got to be the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I know for a fact it's the
Next.
Royal Rumble.
Okay.
Who was the first ever winner on the show? Days, Reckles,
Jesus.
Temperature, or Wardell?
It's got to
It's
be.
gotta be Wardell,
Wardell.
right?
It's gotta
right?
be Wardell.
I
or
feel like it
Days.
might be Relics.
Oh.
Did I say reckless?
I think
I'm
it's
talking about
definitely-
LEC players.
It's
relics.
definitely not dazed, I'll tell you that. So we can cross that one off.
It's Relics, I
Temperature
think.
was so goated, but I think that was later. Because that was like Moon Raccoon's era that I like
man,
temperature.
I don't even
which
know.
I was on the show earlier than that. It's either Relics or Wardell.
Time. Pick Wardell. Let's do Wardell. One. Oh god.
It was
It's
temperature.
What?
Okay.
It was temperature.
Which of the following is a fake award never given out on the show? Bren's Player of the Week, the Guard's Very Good Great Gamer Award, Wyatt's Clutch Player of the Week, and Ball is This Week Award. I remember the Ball is This Week Award happened.
The Guard's Very Good Great Gamer Award we did give out too. That was a
Did I?
sponsor activation.
Did I do a Bren's Player of the Week takeover on one of the weeks?
I don't know. That must have
think
been
I
like
might have.
They're not
Oh my
supposed-
god. Was my Clutch Player of the Week, was that what it was called before
It must
got
have been,
changed
right?
I
to
feel
the
like
weekly
I've
award?
seen Clutch Player of the Week, surely.
No,
I
I think
feel
it
the
is
Bren
Clutch
one
Player
is
of the Week.
fraudulent.
You reckon it is?
I think
think-
the Bren is fraudulent.
Yeah.
Might
But
be fraudulent.
Bren's a fraud.
I thought I did it on one episode where I took over, but maybe not.
Did you rename it though when you took over?
I audibly hit it, but I don't think we had assets for it.
I'm
this
almost
guy would've
positive Bren's player
It's
of the
gotta
week
be
is-
Bren's player of
I
the week.
think it's
Let's do
that.
Bren.
Okay.
Bren is in fact the fraud.
Nice.
Okay. Out of the following, whose parent has not won the Wyatt's Weekly Award? Emery, who is Balla's daughter.
Ball has definitely
Ospas,
won it.
Stellar, or Jing?
What?
It's
Dude, this
Aspas.
is such
What's
a
Aspas?
good question. Oh
Oh,
my
wait, no,
god.
I think-
Ospas,
no,
no,
he-
Ospas' dad
You
won.
gave
He
it to
won for the bike.
Osmus the other week.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
Aspas'
gave it to
dad
him for the
won.
bike.
It's either Jing or Stellar, and I think I've given it to both their parents.
But-
No, actually, it's Stellar. It's Stellar.
It's
we
gotta
gonna
be
talked
Stellar,
about
right?
his dad, but we didn't give it to him, I think, because
Yeah.
There
Oh,
it is.
okay.
Okay.
I knew it.
All right. X has been through a lot this year, 2022. He's a good guy. Was the reason for X winning the last Wyatt's Weekly Award of
Oh, it's
2022?
Howard.
Who
It's
is
Howard
X?
Hamlin. It's Howard Hamlin.
Howard Hamlin.
Yeah, 100%.
From
Lock it in.
What Howard Hamlin
don't know
from
how you
Breaking
got
Bad?
Lock
What?
it in. I remember.
From
I remember.
Breaking Bad? Or I mean, from Better Call Saul. What?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
moving on. Next question.
We're on a time crunch, all right?
Sorry, next question.
Don't
Pull
get
it up, Kurt.
distracted.
Sorry, I was looking up pictures of Howard Hamlin.
Among the following, who has won the most number of Wyatt's Weekly Awards? Yay, Boaster, Tens, or Nats? Surely
Boaster.
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 That's this, yeah.
It's definitely Boaster.
Okay. Which is the only American state to have won Wyatt's Weekly Award? New York, California, Wisconsin, or Texas?
Texas.
Definitely.
Why did Texas win it?
Why did Texas
I
win?
can't
That's
remember.
the worst state on
I
there.
don't know. I
That's not a
don't
good
know.
state.
I have no
It's a
idea.
terrible state.
I have
Plat
no
Chat
idea.
does not endorse the state of Texas.
I have no idea.
Okay,
Who's the
among the
only
following.
Valorant agent? Chamber.
Chamber?
Chamber.
Why would Chamber won? Chamber fucking sucks.
I thought Chamber won because he was so dominant in the meta.
Okay, who is the only Optic player in 2022 to have won? Marved, Crashies, Victor, Finesse. I think, wasn't it Marv? Because Marv, like,
I
told
thought it was
Bren that-
Crashies.
I thought it was Marv because he, like, said hi to you or something and said you were cool. Right, Bren?
No, that was just when I accidentally egoed him in a corridor.
Okay.
Hallway corridor.
I genuinely have no idea.
I think it's Crashies. I don't know why. I just feel like it is.
Sure. I have no idea.
Okay, let's lock it. It was Victor. Okay, how many
No
awards have been
idea
given
why.
out for performance in VCT game changes? 1, 2, 3. At least one. Floor won once.
I
Didn't
bet
Mel win
two.
once?
Mel must have won.
I think
Mel must
two.
have
I think I've given one to Mel
three?
and one to Floor.
3.
Who would I have given it to for 3 though? Did I give it to
Mel
Did I give it to
twice.
Mel twice?
What about
I
our
think you
game,
gave it to
what about
Mel
the Game
twice.
Changes International episode?
think you
Did
gave it to
give
Mel
a player
twice.
there? No, but he
But no,
definitely gave it to Floor
yeah.
once.
But maybe it wasn't for performance in VCT. Game changes.
Oh yeah, because it would have been for the predictions, right? So it's 2.
Yeah, this question is very specific. Given out for performance in VCT, so like specifically for the in-game
So I
performance.
think it's 2 then. It's Mel
was
and Floor.
was Flora
Oh my
for
god. I
in-game?
can't remember if I gave one
Yeah.
out. I feel like I gave one to someone on G2.
You must have for the Game Changers Champions episode. So
I
think
think
it's 3.
so.
I think it's 3.
Go with 3.
Fuck. It's 2. It's 2. Okay, which org won the award for dropping the bag on MW Zera? Keyed Stars, Game
I
On
mean,
Blue,
when was
Furia,
this?
or NIP?
God, I can't
Keed. It was
remember.
definitely Keed.
Was
Yeah.
it Keed?
Yeah.
It's Keed
Yeah.
Stars.
Okay, easy. Among the following NA coaches, who is the only to not have won an award? Mike, Chet, Potter, MC. Mike definitely has. Chet
Yes,
definitely has.
MCE has.
I've
think
definitely
Potter
given
is the
one to
only one.
MCE.
I think it's
I
only
feel like
Potter.
I've given one to Potter.
Yeah, I feel like Potter would have earned one.
I actually don't think I've given one to Mike.
That's so fucked
That's
up.
so
He's
sad.
been
I
on
am
the
my
podcast.
actual friend.
Multiple times.
I've not given. I don't think
Damn,
I've.
he didn't pass
because
the
I
nepotism
think
check.
I've definitely given one to Chet. I gave one to MC during the guard era,
guard.
and I think I gave one to Potter after EG went on that run
Probably when they
in
beat
stage
Optic.
2 last year and made playoffs. I think it's Mike.
It's Jet.
Chet! Poor
Oh,
Chet,
what
man.
the
We
fuck?
gotta give it to Chet if they win America.
Jesus.
We never get
Okay.
more to chat.
That's so fucked up.
What is
Okay.
the maximum number of followers on Instagram for winner? What? I mean, how many does tens have?
Probably.
Have
Like,
you given it to some like entity that has like more than 50 million?
Like,
I mean, does the state of Texas have more than 50 million?
oh,
on
I
maybe.
mean,
Instagram?
surely.
No.
No,
Why
there's
would
no
people
way.
follow the state of Texas
know.
on
People
Instagram?
combined
I
inside
don't
it.
know. I would go like 5 million to 50 million as a safe bet, but I wouldn't be
I
surprised
would
if
say
it's more than 50.
500k to 5
What the
million.
did
would
I
be
give
safe.
one to like fucking Drake? What the
Did you give one
how
to The
did
Rock?
I have no idea. I want to say 500k and 5 million, like
I think
tens
it's
or
5
something.
to 50 million, but it's
More
more than
than
50.
50.
Someone's got more than
Who
50.
did I give it to?
I think you may have
know.
given it to like Obama or something.
Obama.
Which of the following orgs' active rosters has the maximum number of Wyatt's Weekly Award winners? M80, Moist Moguls, The Guard, or FaZe Clan? So the current roster with the most winners. Baby Bay's got to have a ton. The Guard's players have got to have a
The
ton
guard
too.
must have a lot.
I
But they
think it's
lost MCE.
FaZe.
But who's on phase right now? I don't think I gave one to like Poised, Superman, Mummy,
You gave one.
Tig.
Mummy
You gave
must
one
have gotten
to.
one
No,
back
you
in
gave
the
one to
day.
Poised.
Did I?
Yeah,
I think you've given one to Poised, Baby Bay,
you did give one to Poised.
Superman. Who
I
else
remember
did you give it to?
Superman,
Superman?
for his like brim performance at some point.
What?
Definitely
I'm like
Poised.
99% sure it is.
I think it's FaZe.
Fuck.
Moist?
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 It was
Who is on
Moguls.
Moist?
I gave one to. I'm sure I gave one to Thief when Luminosity was going. Because remember, there was 2 to LG. So I think one was Thief and one was a Proto, probably
Maybe.
Yeah.
back then in 2020, early 2021.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's wild.
I think it has to be.
Okay. Who is the only player to not win a Wyatt's Weekly Award from the title-winning Loud roster of 2022? Saucy, Pancata, Les, or Osboss? Has Les ever won one?
Yeah, everyone forgets about Les.
Everyone
Really.
forgets
I feel
about
like-
Les.
Wouldn't that be a reason for the award?
I feel like it might be saucy.
That's a reason.
I think I know I gave one to Osboss and Pancata. I think 100%.
The sass.
And if I didn't, I'm trolling.
I feel like you would have given it to Les at some point as well.
I think I gave one to Les for Champions, maybe.
for his Viper.
So it must have been
Les
Saucy
was
then.
Bell.
really good at Champions. I think it's saucy.
It's got to be Saucy. No, it's
Osboss is
How
no
did
way.
I don't know how that happened. I've spent so much airtime just batting for Osboss. I can't believe that. That's
Osboss's
crazy.
father has one.
Okay, apart from the United States, which is the only country to have 4 consecutive winners of Wyatt's Weekly Award, it's got to be Brazil, right?
Consecutive.
Why
I mean,
is
it
Brazil?
has to be. I love
It
yeah.
has
You
to
do
be.
love Brazil.
Okay,
All
easy.
right,
There you
that
go.
was an easy one.
All right. Highlight of my career was said by which of the following guests on the podcast upon
That's
winning
Did
their
you
first
say that,
Wyatt's Weekly Award?
Sliggy?
Yeah, that's me.
You said
It
that?
is?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh,
It's
wait.
you? It is Slicky!
All right.
Perfect. I
He
wouldn't
is
have
the
guessed
one,
that.
Wyatt said, with regards to which Wyatt's Weekly Award winner.
I said it's a
Kellogg's
fucking
or
Hioni, and
MW's
that
there?
dude fell off like a.
Who is Hioni? I don't remember who that
The
is.
hardest fall off of all time, but it's him.
Jesus. Poor dudes, man.
Who the fuck is that?
Who is
Who
Hioni?
is that?
He went. There was a stretch of time in Korea where he was going fucking insane, and then he got
Oh,
signed.
dude, he's on the Incheon on Slayers now.
He was maybe he's doing well again. I don't know. But I remember he was going crazy, and then he got signed to New Turn, and they were using him horribly on their team, and then his career never recovered.
Total winnings $348. Dude.
Okay. That I don't know who that is. Now I know. Last 2 questions. First is, among these, which is the only country in Southeast Asia to have a Wyatt's Weekly Award winner? Thailand, Indonesia, the Philippines, or Cambodia? Gotta be Thailand. Surely one of
Probably
like the,
Thailand.
right? Surely one of the like Talon Boys one or something.
Because I don't
for-
think
Cambodia. Who's Cambodian?
I don't
Is it
even know.
Jojimo? Wait, wait.
I
Is
honestly
it-
have no idea.
I think Jojimo was Cambodian. It must have been him. That's
Maybe.
like a Twitch, a trick question, I think.
It might be. Yeah, maybe. Out of these, which group has won the least number of awards? Bald people, animals, players in Pacific, and Valorant agents.
It's
I feel like
Valorant
it's got to be.
agents.
I
Oh,
think
it's
it's
gotta
got
be
to
once.
be Valorant
Animals
agents.
has won twice. Bold people has
Players in
won
Pacific.
so many times.
I mean, Josh alone has won 4 times.
yeah, it's Valorant agents.
Fucking nepotism.
Yeah,
How is that possible?
Animals.
How is that possible?
No.
I'm giving a lot of pets.
questions right.
I give a lot of pets awards.
Players in VCD Pacific
What
have won
agents
less
did I give
times.
awards to? Jet? What other
I
agents?
swear, like only Jet.
Chamber. Remember, we
Maybe I
learned that
did
you
to
did
like
Chamber.
This is
Astra
insane.
during the Astra meta. I mean,
Okay.
God knows, man. I'm
Dude.
glad, Sliggy. If you weren't here, that would have been 9 out of 20 because I would have guessed like Ryan Central or something on that one. So you saved us to get 50%.
This reiterates
Good
my point
Lord.
that this is the show that hates the region you like specifically, and that is
Yeah.
just VCT Pacific.
Today it was Pacific.
It was Pacific. Today it was
Pacific.
Pacific.
But again,
But-
a reminder, we're covering it probably next episode for a recap.
No,
I'll
not
sh-
probably. We are covering it
I'm
next
gonna
episode when playoffs
shed
wrap up. We are
tears when we
setting
talk
up
about Zeta.
VCT Masters Tokyo and recapping playoffs when that happens. That is going to be the thing that happens next episode. But that's it for Plat Chat Valorant episode 135. Sliggy, thank you for coming on again and being the EMEA guy. Where can people find you? Co-streaming?
Yeah, co-streaming. Honestly, whatever time you watch this, I'm probably live, so just go check my channel.
Just go to his Twitch. He's always live. Okay, other important shout out. The Plat Chat Premier Team has made playoffs. We have the biggest night of our life coming up. We're probably all going to be streaming it, playing playoffs. So that's really important.
We made playoffs yesterday.
Yep,
It was
and in
very
true
hype.
America's fashion, we qualified for playoffs with more losses than wins. So
We're gonna own.
Yep.
And one last shout out to Manscaped. We like money. Give us money by giving them money. Use code VALOCHAT20.
The products are also
at
good. It's not just
manscaped.com.
a money exchange for goodwill.
Yes.
You do get
Your
something
dad
out of
would
it.
really like Manscaped. I know.
ValoChat20. There you go.
Use that code. Remember it in your heart of hearts. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you comment an emoji of a wave because we didn't cover VCT Pacific, and tell us your favorite Manscaped product in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. We'll be back for 136 next week.